Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, before I introduce you to both our Discord and G Plus guests, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of the people who do support me on Patreon. So massive shout out to Tom Herkins, Tina Baker, theflatearthchannel.com, Texas Mike, Sweet Equity, Skeptic936, Sam Hain, Rune, Reinhardt, Qatar Craig, Paige Love, Michael, Matt, Life is Short, Kirsten Smith, Jaronism, Godrockin, Fireball X, Felix Hung, roll up there with me, Edwin Johnson, David Wayne Foster, Dank, Charion Cat, Charig Patel, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Billy Highvolt, Alistair Main and Adrian Quintana. Massive shout out to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. As I say, we are joined by both Discord and G Plus servers, so I'm going to hand out to them while I set up for the next live show.
Hey.
Hey.
Good afternoon.
Come off mute and share your pain.
Mic check.
Yes, we can hear you. Nice and clear, whoever said that.
Good.
That was Mars.
Yeah, it's me. Is now a good time to ask a question? Or should I just wait until the next show starts?
As long as it's not directed to me, I'm just doing other things at the moment. But yeah, ask away.
Okay. So it might be directed to you, but I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it anyway. So I was just looking into the Coriolis effect, and I just wanted to get a little bit more information about it from you, since you guys have actually looked at it in detail. So according to Google, the Coriolis force in physics is an inertial or fictitious force that acts on objects that are in motion within a frame of reference that rotates. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, keep talking.
Yeah, we hear you.
What? We're not interrupting you, so you stop?
Someone was rumpusing me, so that's why I stopped.
Yeah,
So
I get it. Discord's
force is
funny
an
like that.
inertial
It
or
makes weird
fictitious-
noises.
What the hell are
Yeah,
people rumpusing
nobody
me?
was saying anything. Go ahead and finish what you were saying.
Okay. The Coriolis force is an inertial or fictitious force that acts on objects that are in motion within a frame of reference that rotates with respect to an inertial frame in reference with clockwise rotation. The force acts to the left of the motion of the object. So what does that mean exactly? Does that mean that the Earth is one frame of reference that's rotating, and the atmosphere is a different frame of reference? Is that what they mean?
That's correct.
Okay, and which of these is the inertial frame and which is a non-inertial frame?
The
inertial
atmosphere is
frame-
the inertial one.
The atmosphere is the inertial frame of reference, and the spinning Earth is the non-inertial. That's it.
So,
That's all you need for Coriolis.
Hold on, is there any more? Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so I'm just looking here, and it says an inertial frame of reference in classical physics and special relativity possesses the property that in this frame of reference, a body with zero net force acting upon it does not accelerate. That is, such a body is at rest or moving at a constant speed in a straight line. So is the atmosphere at rest, or does it have no forces acting on it?
I don't know. Have you been in the
Is that-
hurricane?
Are you
What is
saying
your
the
eyes?
atmosphere is not an inertial reference frame, son?
I'm just trying to understand what an inertial reference frame is, just based on this description.
Well, what you already said, special relativity. Whenever I hear special relativity in a discussion, I immediately discount everything afterwards. So you need to come up with another definition because special relativity is bunk.
Well, I mean, that's the definition that's asserted or associated with an inertial reference frame.
I don't care.
particularly
The
agree
definition's
with
bunk. I don't care. The definition's bunk. Is my mic working? You use special relativity,
I
right?
can
Do
hear
you know
you.
what special relativity is?
It's Einstein's theory of relativity.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's not a right answer. Number one, it's not a scientific theory, and there's a couple so-called theories from Einstein. So, what is special relativity?
I'm going to go with I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
Yeah, there you go. So, when you look into it and then you figure that out, then come back with your definition of the inertial reference frame.
Okay, can I still ask my question though? Even though I may not have all the information with me, I want to get clarity on something that I'm confused about. That George was talking about.
What's the issue? It's pretty easy.
What's the issue?
For the Coriolis effect. Now you went to Google. You on Wiki or Google? Or
On
Google
Google.
Wiki. I don't think Google's a source.
Whoa.
Number one, right? Google's not a source; it's a medium.
Google's not a source, but you can look up scholarly articles on Google.
Yeah, but Google's just a source. Or I'm sorry,
Medium.
This is a search
you got me all
engine.
screwed up. Google's just a medium, right? It's not a source.
Just a search engine.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not a. You can't use it as a reference. Yeah, it's not a source.
Exactly. So yeah, you can use it as a reference, but you were calling it a source. It's not a source. It's a medium.
Well,
Like YouTube is not a source.
Precise,
Like
the
YouTube
source
is
was
not a
Wiki.
source.
I just
It's a
googled what the
medium.
Coriolis effect was. It came
Paper
up
is not a
in Wiki.
source. It's a medium, right? So the Coriolis effect is very easy. Go type in Coriolis effect, right, on Wiki, and then go to the GIF on the right-hand side and double-click on that GIF, and it will tell you and show you, and that you can repeat on a roundabout or a merry-go-round the same thing. So you need an inertial frame of reference and a non-inertial rotating frame of reference and an object moving straight through the inertial. It's very easy.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now on G+, we are joined by Sleeping Warrior, Righteous Force, Paul, Chocolate Saiyan, Arwin, Alan and 10th Man. Very good to have you all.
Hello, hello.
Good morning. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello, hello. We're also joined on Skype by Ranty and Quantum Eraser. Very good to have you both.
Yeah, real good, especially when I'm talking. I just get cut right off. I don't even know what that guy heard.
I'm on mute, mate. I'm on mute.
What the
I
hell?
I heard
does that have
everything
anything
you
to do with
said,
it?
John. I
Anyway.
heard everything.
We're also joined by a whole bunch of people in Discord, including Babs. Hello.
It happened twice so far. Nathan, wait till you get on my show, man. I'm gonna hook you up, dude.
Thanks. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, you and chocolate.
So we're live. Any signs of Earth curvature, Alan, on your travels? Or anybody else, for that matter?
No.
Earth curve. What's that?
That didn't sound like Alan.
No.
You couldn't hear the droll coming out of his mouth. Go ahead,
it's
Alan.
just- we were talking about previously on the pre-show. We were talking about traveling around, and Tenth Man was asking about your drink in your plane, and you were like, I didn't experience any of that, so I don't know. But I'm asking if you have experienced anything Earth curve related.
I'm currently experiencing 98% humidity.
Take that as a no. Anybody else? Any signs of Earth curvature?
That was
No,
deep.
still haven't seen any cumulative drop of any kind. Just the rather linear concealment things in the distance.
It's like having a flashback with Alan here and you talking about cumulative drop. This is great. Just like the good old days.
Right. It's kind of a side note. I like to point at it sometimes. Like, hey, if there is an actual curve, then the nature of such curve would bring a cumulative aspect to however things are dropping away. And they don't. The rate seems to be linear over distance.
Would the cumulative, said correctly, cumulative aspect be under the optical slant?
Cumulative?
A double dip. You were here for that argument, if memory serves me correctly. Do you remember when Anthony, or Sleeping Warrior, had the picture of like a dome shape with mountains going over the top of it, and I'm talking about a double effect? No?
No, I can't remember that.
No, fair enough.
I know Tony likes a double pudding.
You just remember the people, don't you?
Any scientific evidence of gravity? Again, directed at anybody?
Well, in order to have scientific evidence of something, first you need to know what it actually is.
That would help.
A little bit.
Anybody in Discord know what gravity is?
I'm Hudson. He's Hicks.
Why don't you put her in charge?
Seriously, anybody in gravity? Anybody know what gravity is? Owen's really looking for an explanation.
Gravity.
I thought Alan had an explanation for gravity.
I know Alan hasn't got an explanation
we
for
still-
gravity.
We still doing housekeeping?
We are doing
It's a big
housekeeping.
can that are kicking. So,
Have you got an answer to one of the housekeeping questions? That sounded promising.
I think.
Oh, no,
yeah.
I was wondering. I was wondering if we're still doing housekeeping because I wasn't done asking my question, but it's all good.
What was your question?
Coriolis.
Related to Coriolis.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope.
There you go.
Nope.
There's your Coriolis, brother. Nope.
No, but I haven't even asked the question yet. My question is this, right? So, according to George Netanuk, he says that if a helicopter is hovering
Hold on,
above
Kiwi.
Earth.
Do you want to start again? Please don't interrupt him, people. Go ahead, start
Everybody
again. Sorry.
go on mute, please, if possible. So, according to George Netanuk, if a helicopter is hovering above Earth, the reason that the helicopter doesn't end up in a different location is because the atmosphere is also moving with the Earth in lockstep.
Try not to interrupt. Okay.
I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous. I'm not saying I believe any of this stuff. I'm just making I'm just trying to make an argument here.
Okay.
He also
So-
says a closed
Oh, hold on,
According to him,
hold
the-
on.
What?
The guy's not got to the end of his point yet. Go ahead.
Does he need to?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
according to
he
him-
does.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh God, I'm not going to get to the end of my point.
You are now. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so according to him, the atmosphere is moving in lockstep with the rotation of the Earth. So the Earth is rotating in an anti-clockwise direction. So that would mean that the atmosphere is also moving in an anti-clockwise direction. So his reasoning behind why the helicopter is moving with the atmosphere is because the helicopter is under controlled flight, meaning that it has an engine, unlike a balloon or a bullet that's under a different kind of flight. It's not being controlled by anything. So here's the question that I wanted to ask. If I have a kite on a string and the kite's in the sky, the kite's going to stay with me just because I'm holding the string, right? So based on the whole Earth model, I'm rotating, I'm holding the kite, so we're both rotating together in one frame. However, if I let go of the string, the kite's just going to do whatever it wants to. So if the atmosphere is moving with the Earth in the same anti-clockwise direction, that would mean that if I let go of the kite, it's also going to go in an anti-clockwise direction. But that's not what happens, because the wind, isn't wind part of the atmosphere? And that's going in like all different types of directions. So what is wind not part of the atmosphere? How do they explain how that works?
Okay, I'll just try and, as concisely as I can, unpack what's being said. So when you say George is asserting that the Earth and atmosphere travel in lockstep, that is an assertion that you do not experience Coriolis effect. So he's saying the reason you don't see the plane deviate, well, don't see it deviate. So the reason we don't have Coriolis effect, so that's the first problem. He's detailing non-Coriolis effect, one reference frame. To have Coriolis, you've got to have two reference frames. The non-inertial spinning reference frame turning underneath the kite when you let go of it. So you rotate away from the kite, yeah? Well, that would be what you need to have Coriolis. He's saying Earth and atmosphere travel as one. Now, besides the fact that's impossibility in terms of gas law and the multiple surface winds that you've pointed out, you know, gas is fundamentally unbonded to itself, let alone the ground beneath it. So no, it's not travelling with anything. It's free to move in any direction. But you've also got multiple directions of wind debunking that assertion. This is what I said on Ranty's show last night to him. Even though I said it, he still asserted the exact same nonsense the moment I left, which is to say Earth and atmosphere travel as one. Well, if Earth and atmosphere travel as one, as the people in the trenches arguing flat Earth assert, you don't have a Coriolis effect. The reason they assert Earth and atmosphere travel as one, which wouldn't give you a Coriolis effect, is because that's how we observe the world. Nothing's deviating. We don't observe any Coriolis effect. Why don't we observe any Coriolis effect? Well, because they assert, well, Earth and atmosphere travel as one. The reality is, Earth's not moving. We don't have a non-inertial spinning reference frame. So, because we don't have anything travelling away from it, no deviation observed, they say, oh, it's because it's travelling with the spinning reference frame, flying in the face of the assertions of people like Neil deGrasse Tyson. So that's the first bit unpacked in regards to how it should or shouldn't work with a single reference frame asserted when they say the Earth and atmosphere travel as one. They can't travel as one if it was spinning. That defies gas law and the multiple direction surface winds. And if it was, you wouldn't have a Coriolis effect. So it's just a way of double speaking it. I'll address the second part. I'm trying to keep this concise. I'm sorry if it's a bit long-winded. He's saying powered flight. Incorrect in terms of its removal of some apparent effect or deviation caused by Coriolis. If you have a powered drone in your hand on a roundabout and you push the up stick on the remote control and let it hover in a stationary position, given a tiny bit of movement that it may have, you know, let's pretend it's really slick and all gyroed up. Well, that will stay pretty much stationary, but it will appear to get closer and come further away, closer and further, as you rotate underneath. So to have a Coriolis effect on Earth, you need you to rotate underneath, like you rotating under the drone with the roundabout. It's not actually flying towards you and then flying away from you. it's staying in one place. It seems to get closer and further away because you are getting closer and further away as you rotate underneath. So to have Earth-based Coriolis effect, you need the Earth to rotate underneath. And George is saying, Earth doesn't rotate underneath. In fact, it all rotates as one reference frame, no Coriolis. So this is just, it's a fairly labour-intensive process to even slightly concisely unpack their doublespeak. They need to have something analogous to what actually takes place, no deviation, no Earth turning under planes, no 1.5 hour flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA. They don't see that. Why don't they see it on their spinning Earth? Well, because it's only one reference frame. Well, they're trying to have an argument when they're talking about reference frames in regards to Coriolis and Coriolis' two reference frames. But they'll argue to have one all day long, flying in the face of gas law.
Yeah,
You could catch
and I
them in
agree with that.
contradictions.
That in order to have the Coriolis effect, you need to have two spinning frames of reference. But,
Not spinning.
as
Not
far as
spinning.
your example with a drone,
No,
if a
that's
drone
wrong.
is an auto,
Not correct. So in the roundabout example,
correct.
the inertial reference frame, the frame of reference that the drone travels into, so it's travelling in a straight line up in the inertial reference frame. But in my example, it just stops in the inertial reference frame. But you, on the non-inertial spinning reference frame, are rotating underneath. It's not that the air that the drone is sat in, pretty much stationary, is rotating. It's not. That's just the air. Yeah, you could argue there's some wind moving it off its position. That would be true also, but it doesn't change that to have Coriolis, you've got a non-inertial rotating reference frame underneath it, causing an apparent deviation. The Coriolis effect itself is that apparent deviation. The drone appearing to come closer and then get further away as you rotate underneath, that's the Coriolis effect. It's seeming to fly closer and fly away again. It's not actually flying towards you and flying away from you. You're getting closer to it and further away from it as it stays in one position. Well, that effect that seems to be happening, it's seeming to move, is you moving underneath. That's Coriolis. And they're doing away with the very nature of what Coriolis requires to be in effect by saying there's only one reference frame. Oh, it all travels as one. Well, that's analogous to saying the atmosphere travels along with the roundabout. So you launch your helicopter off your hand, and lo and behold, it travels with the roundabout. That's what he's saying. Earth and atmosphere travel as one. So the air travels with the roundabout. So you don't see the drone drifting in and drifting out because the air is travelling with the roundabout. That's what George is saying. Well, hold on. What do you mean we don't see it drifting in and out? It still seems like it's directly above me. It's staying essentially stationary from my position on a spinning reference frame. That flies in the face of Coriolis. You're supposed to see it deviating because you rotate underneath. And they're saying you're on your roundabout, you launch your drone, and it stays 3 inches in front of your face as you're on a roundabout. No, but that's what they're arguing for, because we don't see any Coriolis effect on Earth. There isn't any.
No, there isn't. And yeah, I get your point now completely. So the Earth is moving and the atmosphere is not moving. That's the only way that the Coriolis effect is going to work. But do we know for sure that a drone that's hovering
oh my God.
is going to...
I think you're getting a minor correction. Go ahead, Kiri.
No, you keep droning on and on and on. Keep your points concise to the point. A couple sentences, then stop.
Sorry.
Right?
But I only got like one sentence out.
Okay. The atmosphere is not moving with the Earth. That doesn't mean it's not moving. There's like winds and stuff there.
Yeah.
Right? It's just not moving with the Earth.
That's part of what I was saying.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
But
Sorry.
do we know that a drone that's hovering over Earth is just going to stay in one position? Like, has anyone ever tried that before? What is that based on?
Yeah.
Really?
My wife used to fly helicopters. Yes, definitely. That's all what it'll do. You just hover and the Earth doesn't rotate underneath the helicopter. Because if it did, the flight from Charlotte, North Carolina would only take an hour and a half because the continent is moving underneath you as you travel over it. But that doesn't happen.
Right. I heard from somewhere that drones use GPS coordinates when they're flying. So when it's hovering, how is it staying in one position? Is it using GPS coordinates, or is it just
Called
flying on its own
hovering.
accord?
Can you define hovering for us?
That would be floating in one location.
Right.
That's right. Thank you.
But no, I think the guy's
But
saying
how is
that.
it doing that though?
I think what he's
how
saying
is
is
it
you
doing
could
that?
still have a non-inertial and inertial reference frame if the helicopter is continually adjusting its position based on GPS data. So although it appears to be in one position, it's actually continually flying along with the Earth at the rate the Earth is flying. So you're essentially saying, hold on, that would imply that your cheap $5, or let's even say it's a $200 drone, right? It's going to fly up and then on the equator keep up with 1,000-mile-an-hour spin. That's what that implies.
No, you just turn the
That's what's
GPS
been
off.
asserted. I'm not
Just
saying
turn
that
the
I
GPS
agree
off.
with it.
I know you're not making that. I realize you're not
asserted.
making the assertion. I'm taking apart the implication thereof, not that you're making it. I get that. Nothing personal. Sorry, Ranty, what did you say? Just turn the GPS off.
Yeah, just turn the GPS off. I mean, ultimately, there's a lot of drones out there that don't have GPS. You can buy cheap ones for £100. They don't have GPS on them.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying when I was like, cheap one.
Even get a toy helicopter. You know those little cheap toy ones that remote control things for like £30 or something from B&M Bargains. Get one of them. That doesn't have GPS on it. And it'll hover.
Right. Okay.
Sure. I mean, I don't know if like low-grade helicopters from the 1950s had anything like Lorenz attached to it, maybe. But it's but nevertheless, hovering is definitely.
I'm curious to know if anyone's actually tried it with a low-end drone that doesn't have GPS on it.
I've not done this, so I will confess. Right, I've got no cowbell for that.
I've done something. Let me tell you what I've done. I had a little toy. It was a helicopter, battery operated with a remote control. Real small. So I took it outside and made it hover in one place. Then this brisk wind came and just thrashed it. What do you say for that? I'm hovering, and then the wind comes and knocks it out of position. But I'm hovering in one place. I didn't touch the controls to make it do that.
What direction did it go in?
The direction of the wind.
Okay, so that just proves that the wind or the atmosphere is moving in multiple directions. It's not just moving in one direction like George claimed. I asked which direction it went in just to see if it corresponds with what direction the atmosphere is supposed to be moving in.
West to east is the way the Earth is spinning according to them. So it would have to go west to east.
Did it go in an eastward direction?
Or it would have to go from west to east, like he said. I got another question. When you watch the weather, I just watched the weather the other day, and I seen this low pressure area, right? It was moving from east to west. How you explain that? Sorry?
You can't.
That's right.
You can if it's being carried along. But the end of that argument is that to assert that it's being carried along in any shape or capacity is to assert that you don't have Coriolis effect, which flies in the face of their rhetoric. Their priests declare they do have Coriolis effect. That would be a deviation because the Earth rotates underneath. So Neil deGrasse Tyson's tweet about that field goal going in because the Earth rotated underneath. That's Coriolis effect. 2 reference frames. So I don't give a crap what some batshit crazy senile old twat like George Netanyahu says about Coriolis. The guy at a fundamental level is insane. He doesn't understand Coriolis. His assertions that the Earth and atmosphere travel as one isn't possible. And if it was, you wouldn't have Coriolis effect.
Right. It's even more moronic on a fundamental level. What's the behavior of gases?
It's free to move in all directions, unbonded, not attached to itself, not attached to the ground, free to move in all directions randomly.
So they're holding.
I think the point that George was trying to make is that the gases are being held to Earth by gravity. So because of that gravitational force, that's what's causing the atmosphere to move with
son,
the Earth in the
listen.
same direction.
Number one, you're invoking gravity. Number two, we just told you what gas behavior was. And any idiot can walk outside. You can see clouds moving in different directions at different levels of the atmosphere. I mean, this is... I'm getting so frustrated with this that...
No, he
It
just,
should
Yeah,
be-
but
he just
these
said
are
it.
arguments that the ballers are making. They're saying
Why?
that
Yeah, since
the gravity
2015.
is what's
And we
keeping
have
the
to go
atmosphere
over
to-
and over and over them, right?
P. Mars,
But
you
that's-
just said it, P. Mars. You said that
He's-
George says
P.
the
Mars.
atmosphere goes with the Earth, and since the Earth goes in their model, west to east, then all the winds would blow west to east. And QE just said that all you got to do is watch the weather channels, see that all the winds don't go west to east. So you got your answer right there.
Right, I'm not P. Mars, by the way.
Wind and water.
He's playing devil's
Wind and
advocate.
water have
Can everyone stop
Coriolis
giving
on
this
the
guy
planet.
such a hard time, right? He's conveying the baller rhetoric back to us. What he's up against, presumably in some of the trench somewhere, right? So just stop giving him such a hard time.
Yeah, and he's not P. Mars either.
He's cool.
Yeah, that's fine. He's not P. Mars either.
And he's
So
definitely not P. Mars.
I just want to. Okay, whoever he is, it doesn't
I'm not
matter,
P.
right?
Mars.
So,
I do sound like P. Mars, but I'm not P. Mars.
you don't sound like P. Mars
Just
to
for the
me.
record.
It's
No,
not-
no,
okay.
no.
Chris, I know who you are. You're
Maybe.
not P. Mars. I got you.
Sure. I just want to
You're good.
unpack
We got
this
you,
though,
Nathan.
just one more time. So, in terms of the Coriolis effect, it does not matter what the fundy globeheads in the trenches are asserting. In this case, George Netanyahu. He is flying in the face of the standard rhetoric. So, regardless of where he places himself in the hierarchy of globe belief, Neil deGrasse Tyson asserts the standard official line in regards to what Earth must have to demonstrate Coriolis effect. Now, shock horror, he understands what is necessitated to have Coriolis effect. That would be Neil deGrasse Tyson. Now, that's to say that he understands the necessary ingredients that must be displayed in his tweet to have Coriolis on Earth. Now, what is needed, the necessary ingredients for Earth-based Coriolis effect being an absolutely real demonstrable effect that you can demonstrate with a ball and a roundabout simply by throwing it and seeing it seem to curve away from you because you rotate underneath. Now, Neil deGrasse Tyson makes it very plain. The ball goes through the goal because the Earth rotates underneath. So the ball is travelling seemingly in a straight line, but from your position on the ground, rotating underneath the ball, you see it curve to the right. Well, it's curving not because the ball actually takes a curved trajectory, but because you rotate underneath. So that's what you need to have Coriolis effect, as made plain by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Now, the dicks and the senile old gits and the people who are in the trenches of flat Earth who say gravity carries the atmosphere along, well, they don't understand number one gas law. It cannot be dragged along. It's free to move in all directions independently, unbonded. So no, it's not being dragged along. Secondly, if it was, then it would completely contradict Neil deGrasse Tyson's explanation of Earth-based Coriolis, which does fall in line with the necessary ingredients to have Coriolis, even though his incorrect assertion isn't demonstrating planes deviating with Earth turning underneath like they do with his football example. So we can still debunk Neil deGrasse Tyson's assertion, but Neil deGrasse Tyson is asserting what you'd need to have Earth-based Coriolis. Earth turning underneath the atmosphere. The ball is in the inertial reference frame. The Earth is the non-inertial reference frame turning underneath in that example. So George, with his stupid idiocy, saying they go as one, well, that flies in the face of the official rhetoric and demonstrates he doesn't understand Coriolis. Because if they were, you would not have Coriolis. So just understand, the people in the trenches are dumb. Yeah, you chuck out the cannon fodder. That's what George is. Pump out some bullshit, George, and you get shot in the face by people who do understand Coriolis. And contradicted by the priests. They're not going to come and rescue him. They're not going to change how gravity works and absolutely does not change gas law. You know, give us a demonstration of some gravity carrying along gas with something. Yeah, you show me that with a flatbed truck. Yeah, right. Of course, that's never going to happen. But they'll keep asserting it, George, contradicting the high priests of heliocentrism, that would be Neil deGrasse Tyson, with his nonsense that defies gas law of Earth and atmosphere travelling as one, not giving you Coriolis effect, giving you no Coriolis effect. So George saying this, oh, Earth and atmosphere travel as one, the next words out of your mouth, if you're a flat earther talking to that fundamentalist religious zealot, is that would not give you Coriolis effect. That's what you say. What, Earth and atmosphere travel as one? Well, you wouldn't have a Coriolis effect then, George. Or whoever else asserts Earth and atmosphere travel as one.
I understand the nature of gases and how that wouldn't make any logical sense on their model. But you know what they're going to say? They're just going to say gravity is what's keeping the atmosphere locked to the Earth's rotation, just like gravity is keeping the atmosphere from going into the low pressure system, that's space. That's all they're going to say.
And I would concede it. Last time it happened yesterday, and I said you can have Einsteinian and Newtonian at 200% effect. You can have them both. It's Christmas, Fundy. Have them both. Now, does that change the nature of gas in any way, shape, or form? No. And you won't ever demonstrate anything changing that principle of gas being unbonded and free to expand in all directions. That's never going to change. Shout out to Tina Baker for the super chat. Says 4 more hours. Thank you very much for the super chat, Tina.
4 more hours.
So yeah, he's not going to get around it. Just one last time to make the conclusion. That argument that they're making for gravity pulling the atmosphere with Earth would leave them with no Coriolis effect. So they're essentially arguing for a lack of Coriolis effect when they make that nonsense claim. Earth and atmosphere travel as one. Therefore, we don't have a Coriolis effect. That's essentially what they're saying. So what's that, George? We don't have a Coriolis effect.
No, we do. He'll contradict himself with every other statement, like they all do. This is incoherent third grader stuff, guys. We all know it. So who cares what they say? Just expose their nonsense step by step like Nathan just did. Thanks.
Right. Okay, one more thing. Why do we have gas pressure gradients? Is it something related to density?
Because we live in a closed dynamic system.
Yeah, but according to the nature of gases, they're free to move in any direction.
They do.
In homogeneous manner. So I'm just wondering why we have gradients if the gases are free to move.
I just told you that.
Do you want me to expand on what QE just said?
Please.
Yeah.
I'm asking the other dude, Babs.
Go ahead, yeah.
The gases are produced at ground level, so the highest concentration is at ground level.
Oh, yeah, I remember hearing this before, yeah. Okay, that makes sense, yeah. And they're getting cycled, which is why they're not, the concentration is constantly changing.
And it fails to answer the question, how do you have gas pressure without a container? That's not an answer to the question, even if they state that. Why? Because gas pressure gradients is delta X. Our question is about where do you get X? So you must have X before you have delta X.
Still need a container.
The gradient is never our question. Gradient is always theirs.
Yeah, it's a feeble red herring fallacy.
Yeah. It all goes back to gravity at the end of the day. If we have pressure, it's because the gravity is causing the pressure.
Gravity doesn't have, even if gravity existed, and it doesn't, that it still would have no effect over entropy, over the second law of thermodynamics. Not a friggin' chance. Thanks.
Yeah, there's quite a few demonstrations again done from friendlies. So Dr. John Dee's done two demonstrations now. One that he did, which was perfectly acceptable, but he'd missed a decimal place or something and missed out one specific definition of a type of pressure. I think he missed out torr or something like that, one of the arbitrary assignments of values. So he did a second of exactly the same, where he's just showing how gas works. And he's obviously, again, he doesn't say this, but, where I say jokingly, you can have your fundy gravity at 200%. He's saying, obviously, I'm at ground level. If you want to assume gravity, well, then here it is in full effect. It's not changing the way this gas works.
Well, bring Toady on, and he can give us his plasma ball story. Friggin' toe tag clown.
Nathan, can I get a discussion going on controlled flight? I think it's Achilles' heel for them.
Sure.
So if the Earth is spinning west to east, as they say, or rotating, however they want us to say it, wouldn't controlled flight prove it? Hovering in one place.
Yes.
So then why do they say that a bullet traveling at speed of sound, a small caliber, and a jet who breaks Mach 1 traveling at the speed of sound, that they're different?
Because they're full of shit.
Because they're morons.
Oh, no, I'll tell you why. Because one has got a significantly reduced hang time, and you're not going to see any long-term effects. And you can assert that, like a ball with Neil deGrasse Tyson, a bullet, 5 seconds tops hang time? Well, unless you're firing it straight up in the air, but you know what I mean. A very short hang time. Same with the ball, right? 5 seconds hang time. Well, you're not really going to see any massive effects of that for anybody to notice. But you might see a small deviation that they can allege is because the Earth rotates underneath. Now, when it comes to a plane, you've got a very, 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 very long hang time. So you should see massive effects of Coriolis, but you don't. Oh, so they attribute that to the engine.
Yes, that's my
remember that time that Brenda and I were arguing to the point where she basically was arguing that a glider is powered flight?
I do remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, that was where I was going. I was going to go there. Thank you for going there first. So if the Earth, as you say, so precisely, is spinning underneath anything, then it's spinning underneath a glider, a powered flight, and a bullet. You're not the Earth doesn't change its mind for the objects. It's spinning regardless.
That's right. If the Earth turns underneath a ball and a bullet, then the Earth turns underneath a hand glider, a helicopter, and an aeroplane. And it also rotates underneath you if you jump in the air.
As Rumpus admitted, at the equator, if he was to walk 5 miles an hour, he would experience Earth-based Coriolis.
Yeah, he's, again, fundamentally retarded because he's walking on the non-inertial reference frame. So what he's describing is an observation of a non-force as something travels through an inertial reference frame. But he has the item travelling as him, and he's not leaving the non-inertial reference frame. So it's like me saying, I'm on a roundabout, and it's got no rails, I can walk around in a circle. And as I walk around in a circle on the spinning reference frame, I observe my own apparent deviation. It's absolute nonsense.
It is. But my point is that the controlled flight, the very thing that they say in the manner they do, is actually going to work against them. Because if I say, look, I shoot guns here on my property and I never adjust for Coriolis, and you're telling me the Earth is spinning underneath the bullet, and it's a very short duration. But if I get on a helicopter or a plane or a glider, and it's a longer duration of time while it's in the atmosphere, while the Earth is spinning underneath, because the Earth doesn't decide what not to spin under, that would be controlled flight would prove your Coriolis. But you're saying it doesn't. It's contradictory because the controlled flight could say, I want to hover at this place and watch the Earth move underneath me, whereas we can't do that with the bullet.
You'd never ever
it's
have.
Happening to the bullet.
You'd never have an eastbound flight. That would never ever happen, because it would be so inefficient to fight the Earth turn that no one would ever travel that way. It would be it would be far more efficient to always go the other way.
But you can't even keep
Hey,
up.
Nathan.
If you're flying at 500 miles an hour and the Earth is spinning at 860 underneath you, LAX to Charlotte, they're going faster than your flight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You'd
can
never
never-
go east. There'd be no point.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you could go up high enough on the reified ball, and it might be just about worth it. But on the whole, there's no point going east. Go west.
Hey, Nathan.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Very well.
I thought I had this talk with you before about Coriolis, but maybe it didn't
God.
take. Yeah. I think that there might be a fundamental flaw in the way in which you're describing Coriolis right now.
Yeah,
Because
you're
it's not
assuming the Earth's
purely
spinning and
about
it's not.
the Earth rotating beneath you.
You think it's not the Earth rotating beneath you?
No, I said it's not purely just the Earth rotating beneath you. When
Oh,
you're
what else
describing,
is it then,
you're right.
Kershaw?
What you said. You're right. What you said about the reference frame. That he's not leaving the reference frame. That is the Earth rotating, but that's not the reference frame that Coriolis describes. They're describing the different latitudes in which the Earth is spinning at different tangential velocities. And what that does
Right.
is it causes you to have an error if you were to shoot a ballistic in the north or south direction.
Right.
And
so you're
planes
shorting.
and other powered
sorry.
flights also have this flaw. There is a slight error in the same flight. The only difference is a powered flight is just that, it's powered. And so as it's heading, to New York from LA or Texas to, Canada, whatever errors the Coriolis is going to give it, it's still a powered flight. So it's constantly making corrections the whole time. So it's probably not even something that it might even show up.
What's it
Whereas a
correcting for?
bullet, the
Sorry,
ballistic
just
is not going to experience.
what's it
a powered
correcting
flight,
for?
And it will have an error if shot.
What's it
over a long
correcting
enough
for?
distance.
What's it correcting for?
For the difference in the tangential velocity. So we used a hypothetical 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, just because I don't have the number on me, and it was going to somewhere where it was 990 miles per hour, somewhere north of there. That was its ending point. That point in which it traveled, so when it leaves the Earth, it's also going 1,000 miles per hour eastward, and so is the Earth. It's not going to stop doing that.
Oh, well, then
But
there's
when
no
it hits
Coriolis
that
effect.
target,
Then there's no
it's gonna be
Coriolis
hitting
effect.
the target that was moving slower.
There's no Coriolis effect then, if that's the case. If it's travelling at the same rate as the non-inertial reference frame, then there is no Coriolis effect.
No, it is when it leaves.
No, really
When
no.
the target, when it hits the target was moving slower.
So that would be that it's in a separate reference frame then. So not in the same reference frame. If it's deviating because the Earth is rotating underneath, then it's not maintaining the tangential velocity. It's travelling in a separate reference frame.
No, it retains that speed.
Well, then it
So
wouldn't
1,000
deviate.
miles per
Well, then
hour,
it
it's
wouldn't
not gonna
deviate.
lose.
Then there
I
wouldn't be a.
distinctly
Let me-
remembering
Arwin.
Nathan
Oh.
and Kosho having this exact conversation before like this.
Yeah, then it wouldn't deviate. Then it would not. Then it wouldn't deviate.
No, that's the problem, is that nothing deviated. The Earth was spinning. The speed was different when it started. The speed is different where the target is. And so just because of that difference there, when it's headed to that target, the Earth, it moves a little bit slower. So the bullet or the ballistic, whatever, is going to veer slightly to the east, if I'm correct.
Well, it's not.
East or the
The
west.
Earth's not going to go slower. That's nonsense.
No, it's not. Well, I mean, you understand our model dictates that the Earth goes, spins
Oh. Oh my
rotates
god,
at
I'm
different
so
rates.
sorry for you. That
depending
doesn't
on
make
your
any
latitude.
sense.
Kosho, are you saying that if the plane was going west,
Hold on.
are you saying when the plane was going west, they would be flying backwards 1,000 miles an hour at the equator?
No, that is also another huge misunderstanding, I suppose, or maybe just miscommunication.
Well, you just said it going east. It
So it
does.
retains the tangential velocity.
Yes, I'm not talking about something I said though. This is something that you guys. have been saying
Sorry,
the
I'm
whole
just going to
show.
clarify what you said. You said it retains the tangential velocity. Well, if the tangential velocity is east at 1,000 miles an hour, that by definition means that the plane takes off, travelling west, and is actually travelling with the tangential velocity of 1,000 miles an hour backwards. That's what it implies.
Yeah, I suppose so.
You fucking retard. You think Earth has got the situation where planes take off going 1,000 miles backwards? You think that, do you stupid
Yeah, so
idiot?
I'm trying to clear up for you, Kyle.
No, don't clear it up for us. You don't need to say anything more, you stupid idiot. You think planes take off going backwards at 1,000 miles an hour?
I'm trying to clear this up for you because
You don't need to clear anything up. Planes don't go backwards at 1,000 miles an hour because they've picked up the tangential velocity of a model that you reify. That doesn't happen.
No, see what happens when you're...
No, it does not happen. Don't not no see. Yeah, what you've asserted about it retaining tangential velocity implies planes going backwards at that tangential velocity, 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, backwards if they're travelling
what's
west.
the Earth doing
It's
at that
absolutely
same time?
ludicrous. You're not going to say, yeah, but... Yeah, that doesn't happen though, mate.
It's clear to anyone listening that you clearly misunderstand this.
I understand that if you're retaining the tangential velocity of a spinning ball reified into existence by fundies, that means, by definition, if you take off travelling west, that you will retain the 1,000 miles an hour of velocity going backwards.
Yeah, but what's the Earth...
Yeah, but... So, no, that doesn't happen, you fundy fuckwit. Not yeah, but... Yeah, but I'll double speak you around the fact that this is total nonsense.
It's not nonsense.
Yeah, but... Yeah, it is nonsense. Planes aren't taking off going backwards, Fundy. You're a moron.
It's not backwards unless...
Yeah, it is. You said it retains the tangential velocity. In your example, it's going backwards.
And where's the Earth moving at that same time?
It's not, you stupid Fundy retard. Earth doesn't move in the slightest. We're not moving a smegging inch. There's no demonstrable Coriolis effect. Your assertion that planes take off with the tangential velocity of 1,000 miles an hour backwards when taking off travelling west would imply there's no Coriolis effect.
But hold on, let me interject here.
Sure, but then you'd have to let me clear this up.
Clear what up? If you're saying it retains the tangential velocity of the non-inertial reference frame, there is no Coriolis effect.
Yep. It's the null.
Let me speak
it's
to you.
the null.
I'm talking to Kosho. It's the point where I hand him his ass, guy who's trying to bail him out. No, if it retains tangential velocity of the Earth. Two problems. One, you've got planes travelling backwards at 1,000 miles an hour when they travel west at the equator. Number two, the tangential velocity of Earth, travelling with the atmosphere, doesn't give you a Coriolis effect.
Nathan, if you're not going to let me clear it up, then you're never going to get it.
Clear what up? What I've just stated is absolutely fact. And you've said, yeah, but, and then tried to double speak your way around it, immediately being obfuscated by me. I'm not going to let you go, yeah, but, when you're saying tangential velocity is retained. That would mean the plane has the velocity of Earth attached to it when it takes off going west, and is going 1,000 miles an hour backwards.
I know you said that about 5 times, Nathan.
Yeah, because it's nonsense. And when I point out that if you've retained tangential velocity, that's what you're doing, and make you concede it, you go, yeah, but, and try and whistle past it like it's somehow acceptable. If
Nathan,
you're retaining tangential velocity, there's no Coriolis effect to observe.
Right, let me speak here, right? I'm ex-military, and I have a very good friend who is a sniper in the military, yeah? And he stated to me, because I asked him,
Yes, if he got trained with it, and he said no, he never got trained from Coriolis. That's great. I have to explain this to Nathan.
Shut up, Kosho. He's talking. He's in the middle of fucking talking, Kosho. Shut your mouth.
After a certain distance, if he doesn't take into consideration the Coriolis effect, he will miss his target every single time. Now, British snipers are some of the best in the world, and they are trained to take into consideration the Coriolis effect. Now, Nathan, if you're sitting there telling me that Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's got PhDs and doctorates and master's degrees and everything else, is telling lies, my sniper friend and all the other snipers in the UK military are telling lies, but yet you have no accreditation to your name whatsoever, are telling me that you're telling the truth and these people are telling lies.
Okay,
you do realise that.
Bear with me, I'll just try and address that.
There are plenty of military.
Oh, maybe I won't get an opportunity to. So,
anecdotal evidence is not strong.
Yeah, it is mate's evidence, yeah. Nevertheless, regardless of your mate's assertion, your mate is implying, and Neil deGrasse Tyson is implying, that as the bullet or the ball travel through the air, the Earth rotates underneath. If the Earth rotates underneath a bullet, as you're implying your mate's telling you, then it also rotates underneath an aeroplane and a helicopter. Do you understand?
Just because you're dumb enough not to understand how the whole system works, that's not our problem. That's your problem. That's your issue.
Not a rebuttal.
But you're relying on
really
anecdotal evidence.
Coriolis effect is not subjective to the type of item. Everything
Can I
has
just
it.
can I just point
None of
out?
it has it.
Can I just point out that
What you're
reliance on
saying
anecdotal
is,
evidence
get a chance to
in the
address-
absence of real evidence.
Is it somebody else is trying to address you, my friend? Somebody else is trying to address you.
On the bus
Pound says
because
this
the bus
isn't
is
worth
traveling
letting him
80
speak.
miles an hour, and I cannot throw harder than 80 miles an hour. Yeah, that's basically what you're saying.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Can I just respectfully point out to our friend in Discord that your reliance on anecdotal evidence is the weakest form of evidence that you can cite? You need to up your quality
Okay,
of
that's good.
evidence.
So now that you've said
Otherwise,
that,
we're going to laugh
and
at
now
you.
that Nathan said 8 times that the plane and all this stuff, I'm going to explain what's going on with the plane.
Kosho,
In about 10 seconds. And then we'll go from there.
nobody's talking to you, Kosho.
You,
Right.
can't, you
Please.
couldn't
So,
explain a
what
soup
Nathan was
sandwich,
saying about the
clown.
plane
You
moving
don't
back
need to explain either
and the
the
Earth
Coriolis
spinning
Let's not
eastward.
rump him. Go ahead.
everything or nothing.
You're never going to
I mean, if
There's
you
no
guys don't
middle
want
road
it,
in
it's
this.
like you guys want you don't want the answer. You
Go
just
ahead.
don't
Kosho,
want to know
Either
it.
fine.
You don't want anybody.
Kosho, the problem is Riley was
All you have to do
talking
is
to
listen
the
for
other
10
dude.
seconds.
Everyone stop rumpusing
ripping
Kosho,
people off,
please.
taking
Hello?
people's money because they believe in the flat earth.
Including this dude. Right, go ahead, Kosho.
That's all this show is.
Yeah, this man's just
People
ad homing the
money.
crap out of me. Hello? Go ahead, Kosho.
All right, simply when the plane's moving, if let's say the plane's going westward, the Earth's moving eastward. As I said, when the plane gets off the ground, we'll even make it simpler to say a helicopter. When the helicopter gets off the ground, it's moving at the tangential velocity of the Earth, 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. That's just true. Now, it's confusing if you tell your listeners that it's moving backwards and has to go an extra, speed, because it doesn't have to. It's relative. The Earth is stationary in the reference frame of the helicopter.
So what you're saying,
So as it goes,
sorry, just to summarise, Kosho, so I understand then, fair enough. If you're in a helicopter and you take off, what you're saying is the helicopter will remain hovering in a stationary position because it's being dragged along with the Earth and atmosphere travelling as one. It's retaining the tangential velocity, therefore you don't see any deviation.
if it's traveling,
It's the same when you're sat in a car.
Mate, nobody was
right?
talking to you.
And the
Mate,
car's traveling at 80
excuse me.
miles an hour,
Excuse
and you
me, I'm
throw
talking to
something
somebody
up in the
else.
car,
I
it
don't
doesn't
want to have to
stick
eject
the
you, my
back of the
friend.
fucking car, 'cause the
Excuse
car's
me,
traveling
nobody's
80
talking
miles
to
an
you.
hour, does it?
You're
No,
disrupting the
everything in
conversation
car
between me
is
and
traveling
Kosho.
at the same
We're having
speed.
a
Who is it,
pleasant
Nathan?
conversation. All right,
Who
I'm
is
gonna have to just end his
You're not gonna
time here.
understand.
Who is
Yeah,
Island 3 or
let's try that
80.
again.
Yeah,
So,
there we go.
Kosho, what you're
If it's
saying is
traveling at a tangential
the helicopter
velocity,
retains the tangential velocity of Earth, so it takes off and just hovers above the ground where it took off from because it's retained the velocity, correct?
Yeah, except for you're forgetting one crucial, important part, is that the Earth is also moving that same 1,000 miles per hour.
Yeah,
So if
so
you're
you're
moving
saying they're
1,000
both
miles per hour in
moving
a
at the
helicopter
same
and
rate.
Earth is moving 1,000
Yes,
miles per hour in a
Kosho,
helicopter.
I've just
Above
summarised
the
that.
helicopter.
You're saying a mission crucial detail. Yeah, just because I haven't left the... Okay, I'll summarise it again, Kosho. You have a non-inertial spinning reference frame that's rotating according to your rhetoric of a spinning ball Earth. And according to you, when a helicopter takes off, it retains the tangential velocity of that reference frame and goes up into the air, which is also going at the same rate as the ground below it. Correct?
Well, it's not the air that's not even relevant.
This is not relevant.
The ground, it's not going to.
What the hell?
I'll summarise
Are
it
you
again for a
retarded?
third time
This is
because
true.
he
This is
doesn't
what
want
he
to
was
seem to
saying with the
concede
ball.
that that's what he's just said. So the helicopter takes off and essentially, on a spinning ball Earth, it just hovers above the bit where it's taken off from, right?
Yeah, it's going 1,000 miles per hour when it left the ground, and it's going to continue to go at that 1,000 miles per hour when it gets off the
So
ground.
in essence, on the spinning reference frame, it's doing the same thing in the air as the ground below it after it takes off. So it's moving at 1,000 miles an hour on the non-inertial reference frame, and when it takes off and leaves the non-inertial reference frame, it's still doing 1,000 miles an hour, and the ground below it's still doing 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, and they're not showing any deviation, not demonstrating any Coriolis effect, as he rumpuses this conclusion. Yeah, so if the helicopter takes off and doesn't move from the inertial reference frame, then it's not exhibiting Coriolis effect, is it, Kosho?
Well, that wasn't even describing Coriolis. We were talking.
No, it's not describing Coriolis, because that's not exhibiting Coriolis. According to you, the helicopter's not exhibiting Coriolis.
What happens when you're in a plane?
Excuse me, now we're going to go from the helicopter to something else, because I've absolutely raped this point. Yeah, you quick jump onto a plane. No, Kosho. According to you, the helicopter takes off on the non-inertial reference frame moving at 1,000 miles an hour. It takes off and doesn't move a smegging inch. The ground below it's still the exact same ground below it. Well, then it's not demonstrating any Coriolis effect, then, is it, Kosho?
Nathan, we weren't talking about Coriolis right now.
Oh, we weren't talking about Coriolis effect. I want to specifically talk about Coriolis effect. That's what he came in with. This is absolutely about Coriolis effect. But when we point out that his example doesn't have any, suddenly we're not talking about Coriolis effect. No, we're talking about what happens in reality. That's what a helicopter actually does. Because there isn't any Coriolis effect, is there?
I talked about Coriolis, and then I was clearing up what you said about planes.
Yeah, planes in relation to Coriolis effect. Yeah, I've just smashed you, mate. You've just been bent over a barrel and thoroughly buggered.
The problem is that you think that has.
Yeah, you really destroyed yourself in here today, Kosho.
Did somebody get Coriolis?
Don't realize it.
Yeah, I'll summarise it again just for Kosho. He's demonstrating with his examples of whatever the hell he claims, it retaining the inertial frame of reference speed when it takes off, or Earth and atmosphere travelling as one, or magical pixies that carry it along with the frame of reference, that it needs to deviate from to have Coriolis. And it isn't deviating from it. He's making every single argument to tell us how it does not deviate. So he's arguing for not having a Coriolis. And when I point that out, he says we're not talking about Coriolis. Yeah, we are.
Man,
He's just rumpus the shit out of that for the audience's benefit. While I pointed out and summarised the conclusion where he was smashed, like every single fundy who ever comes here, ever, he's rumpused every word of it, talked through it so the Discord server couldn't hear a word of that. He thinks that by talking through every word I say, somehow it doesn't smash the point. That when you inertial reference frames retaining the frame of reference speed after it leaves it, you don't have any deviation. And that's what Earth exhibits. We don't exhibit any deviation. The helicopter takes off and stays with the ground below it. No Coriolis effect. None. Zero. Nada. You don't have any Earth-based Coriolis effect. To have a Coriolis effect on Earth, that helicopter would have to drift. The Earth would have to move underneath it. But it doesn't move underneath it, does it? You've not got an Earth-based Coriolis effect. The helicopter does not deviate. We don't experience any drift. For the guy who thinks his mate with a bullet is having to adapt to the Earth turning underneath, ask yourself this, man with bullet mate. Why isn't it drifting under the helicopter? Why is this other guy explaining why it doesn't drift?
I may have a solution.
Owen, that's not you. The guy, the asshole. That's who I'm asking. The guy saying, my mate says bullets are drifting. Well, really, Kosho here saying helicopters don't drift.
I must have missed that. Who was the sniper?
Sniper? No sniper.
Oh, yeah, you missed that one, John.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
I was,
the sniper came.
was
The guy came on and said his buddies in the his buddy who's in the English special forces. I guess.
Highlander 80. You mean?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you bring Mr. Highlander in here and he'll deal with me? Right?
Well, I was going to reference that because you palled around with snipers and you yourself shot 1,200, 1,300 foot shots, right?
Anyway,
13
I wanted to provide a
to
potential
1,500.
solution.
Arwen's going to answer for me. Go ahead, Arwen.
Well, I have a potential solution for them. Okay, why do bullets display this apparent Coriolis effect, yet helicopters and airplanes and everything do not? Well, maybe that's because bullets, for some mysterious reason, have an apparent Coriolis effect to them, which is probably some kind of deviation that they just misexplained as a Coriolis deviation, because it only seems to be working to guns and projectiles like that. So
they overcome it with,
No.
just to summarise that, they overcome it with powered flight. So what they're saying is, where I detail Coriolis on a roundabout and say you take your drone and launch it while you're rotating underneath it, what they're saying is because you've got a powered drone, it'll actually track along with the roundabout. That's what they're saying when they say powered flight. They're saying, oh, well, you've got a powered drone. Well, therefore, you don't see any Coriolis effect if it's got an engine on it. So you'll launch the drone from your hand on a roundabout, and it'll basically stay with you right in front of your face, just rotate with you, even though it's no longer attached to the roundabout. Basically, they're saying there is no Coriolis effect. You're not seeing it get further away and closer because you're rotating underneath. The planes don't exhibit that. Why? Oh, because they've got an engine, like the drone. Oh, right, you launch the drone and you do still see the effect. It would be more pronounced with a longer hang time. Yeah, you can be damn sure you'd notice it in a plane because it's in the air for longer and has a much longer period for the rotation of the Earth to take effect underneath it. Shout out to the shape of my world is XIII. He says, Mr. Oakley smashing the globe since 2016. 2015, actually. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Hey, I've got an anecdotal story.
I feel you
that'll
purposely,
debunk his anecdotal story.
didn't listen to my. You purposely ignored the words I said, even though I said simple,
Argument to
slow,
intent motive fallacy.
quick.
You can't say that. You're a double speaking moron, Kosho.
I did speak to your argument. You were telling us how the plane or helicopter in this example takes off and retains the spin of the Earth. For whatever reason, you're saying it's maintaining the inertial velocity that it had before it left the inertial frame of reference. Sorry, non-inertial frame, the spinning reference. So when it leaves the non-inertial spinning reference frame, you're saying it still has the speed and velocity of the non-inertial reference frame. So even though after I smashed this, you said we weren't talking about Coriolis, even though you're making it absolutely clear that I make it clear that there's a spinning reference frame in play. Right, oh no, it's definitely spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. I've got to get that point in. Yeah, spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, Kosho. Yeah, we get it. I'll make it plain. We're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, taking off, and then not experiencing a single smegging inch of deviation ever from any reference frame. Yeah, that would be a demonstration of having no Coriolis effect. I have listened to you, Kosho. You're just like George netting you. You don't understand what Coriolis is. If the helicopter takes off from the non-inertial spinning reference frame and doesn't experience any deviation, then there is no Coriolis, you stupid dick.
That's the same word, Nathan. The two reference frames. It's the same word. Let's see if you can.
Two reference frames. No, it took off, and the reference frame below it carried on at the same rate, according to you. That would be one reference frame, not two. You're describing one, like George with his atmosphere and Earth travelling as one. One reference frame.
It's explicitly not what I said.
Yeah, you said Earth and atmosphere with a helicopter. Helicopter takes off, and it does not deviate because it retains the inertial velocity. I pointed out that if that was a plane, it would mean it's travelling backwards at 1,000 miles an hour. And you're like, no. It doesn't mean in relative terms it's moving backwards. It's just staying in the same position relative to the ground below. Well, if it's staying in the same position with the relative ground below, not moving beneath it, there's no Coriolis!
Coriolis effect!
Start shaving, Kosho.
Yeah, get your razor out. Get your razor out, dumb fuck. Get your razor out and start shaving and pretending like you don't have to listen to my rebuttal that pisses in this face of any Coriolis being demonstrable on Earth with a helicopter that demonstrates no Coriolis. It takes off and apparently doesn't deviate at all, according to this guy.
Show that you're a man and see if you can challenge yourself. Because it's not that difficult,
This
Nathan.
is a family
The two reference
show.
frames I said were the two latitudes, the two speeds, the two tangential velocities of the Earth. The two different tangential velocities of the Earth.
That doesn't have
And when you're
anything to
traveling
do
north
with
to south to south and north. That was the two reference frames I spoke of.
That doesn't have anything to do with Coriolis effect.
That has everything to do with Coriolis, and
It
you know that.
doesn't. Zero. And my argument isn't about the Coriolis effect. It's about the causes of the Coriolis effect. So
Okay,
go on
that's
and
fine.
argue about
I
the Coriolis.
don't know what your argument is at all. I was talking to
you
Nathan.
don't?
Well, I'll explain it.
Kosho, you don't know the argument. Nathan's explained it
I
to
don't know
you
an
a
argument that
1,000
he's having
times
with
on
somebody
this
else. No, I
episode
don't.
alone,
I know
and
the
you're just
conversation
going
I was having
on
with
and
Nathan that
on.
he's misinterpreting.
I'm not misinterpreting. To have Coriolis on Earth, you need two reference frames. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson explains for dumbos who tune into Twitter, he explains that the Earth rotated underneath the ball. Silence. Say it slower. Neil deGrasse Tyson explains it. You're going to tell me your high priest is wrong? He says the ball travels through the inertial reference frame and the Earth rotates underneath. Well, your helicopter's not exhibiting that. In your example, it's retaining the velocity.
Nathan, just because in your mind you understand it to mean one thing.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, not me, explains that a ball travels in a straight line and the Earth rotates underneath. Your example is to say that no, there's no deviation in a helicopter. It retains the velocity after it leaves the non-inertial reference frame and can just hover in midair, demonstrating no deviation. So Neil deGrasse Tyson, not you, a Dumbo, is saying that to have Coriolis, Earth's got to rotate underneath that helicopter that you said is stationary. So according to you, the helicopter's not exhibiting it because it's not having the Earth rotate underneath. That would be the necessary ingredients for Earth to have Coriolis. The Earth rotating underneath that helicopter example you gave.
It's spinning, Nathan.
It's rumpusing the shit out of me.
It's the changing of the latitudes.
No, that's not what. No, it's two references.
Can you cite that? Can you cite that, Kosho?
Yes, please.
Citation
Absolutely.
for that, please.
Listen to me. If you ask me a
Because
question,
you keep saying Kosho, you keep saying this bullshit. Cite it,
10 times
please.
over and over again.
Let's get the claim.
You're repeating what I said incorrectly.
Let's get the claim clear.
Kosho.
He's claiming that
Traveling
the cause of
different
Coriolis is
different
claiming.
speed.
I'm trying to clarify your point.
Yeah,
Kosho.
that's fine, you guys.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to clarify your point.
Listen,
Shut
though,
up.
Because
Ever.
it makes sense if you understand.
He won't
it.
shut
But
up,
if
will
you
he?
repeat something that
He
somebody
just
else
keeps saying it won't make sense. It will make sense. It will make sense. He won't shut up. Rumpusing. That's what that's called. I'm trying to summarise your point.
So what do you call what you do when you're
Oh, right. So he just continues to
before you let
rumpus
someone
me.
speak again?
You've claimed that the cause of Coriolis is latitude lines, not, as I have made plain, is a non-inertial spinning reference frame and an inertial reference frame. That is what you will get if you are trying to aim for Coriolis effect to be your outcome. You're saying latitude lines are the cause, and you're being asked to cite something that demonstrates that latitude conceptualizations cause Coriolis effect. Go.
That traveling through the latitudes. Yeah, of course. The thing is, once I do this, you're not going to apologize. You're going to probably be a bigger
Kosho,
ass
there's
than you
no
are.
We already know what Wiki says.
Citation.
With your show.
Yeah, Kosho, we
I'll be back in
already
about 2
know what
minutes.
Wiki says in this regard.
Please go on. I'm
We already
doing some
know.
research.
We're waiting for you to go and get Wiki where it starts talking about Earth, so we can piss all over it. You think we don't have? You think we haven't already seen the Wiki entry in this regard? You're nuts.
Somebody's breathing down their mic. Stop it.
Arwin.
Not breathing, but breathing
Arwin.
down your mic.
Arwin.
Nathan, I posted something on Masterby. If you can put it on your screen, it's very pertinent to this point.
No, I don't know how to do that. If it's in Master B, did you say?
Yes.
Kosho, I hope you're getting your citation out, bro. Because I don't want to hear this bullshit again.
Yeah,
Somebody's
I already found
still
it, dude.
breathing
So why don't you
down
be
their
quiet?
mic.
Somebody in the G Plus Hangout. Somebody in Hangouts is
Or
breathing
go ahead and
down
read
the
it
mic.
out loud if you'd like to for your audience.
No, you need to see. You need to see this, Kosho.
Is this 10th man thing with the? Oh, okay, it's with the field goal. Okay, give me a sec.
Oh, it's a lot more than the field goal. If you read the
I've
little
got it up,
article.
Nathan. If you want to just want to look at mine, just share mine.
Here we go. Yeah, it's up if you go to pause.
I've done it in Skype now.
Okay.
So yes, the audience can see it. You'll have to talk us through it though.
Yeah. So I pulled off the reference of Neil deGrasse Twitter, and he says a 50-yard goal in MetLife Stadium will deflect nearly 1/2 inch due to Earth's rotation. Meet the Coriolis force. And then I've got the football image. And then I saw something on the English newspaper called The Express, and they were saying cricket and horse racing and rowing. So Kosho, it's just not footballs. It's cricket, it's horse racing, it's airplanes, it's everything. And you're saying no.
maybe the football was affected by latitude lines too, right, Kosho?
Hey, Chocolate Sam, be a man. I posted it for you. Read the first 2 sentences. Be a man. Instead of talking
Where
shit,
you posted it?
just go ahead and read
Where
it.
you posted it?
No
I
comment
posted it
on the high
about 2
priest. No
minutes.
comment on the English newspaper citing so-called pseudoscience forces that say there's an actual Coriolis effect that we could observe with all like a cricket game. Are you kidding me?
He was set
That was
to
probably
get
something you
citation by
posted, man.
Chocolate
I'd read
first, though, to be
the first
fair.
2 sentences of the thing. I
Yeah, fair enough. I agree. I'm just going to shout out a super chat, Kosho, and then you can put him to task all you like. The Shape of My World XIII. Thank you very much for the super chat. King Nathan, hardly. Loving the Fires show. Claps. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. So, yeah, he's gone and got you a citation, Chocolate. Have you read it?
Yeah, I got it up. Hold on. 1 second.
Bruce. I'll keep the live show open just for this.
Here we go again.
All right, you there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you.
All right, so the Coriolis effect, also known as the Coriolis force, refers to the apparent deflection of objects such as airplanes, wind, missiles, ocean currents, moving in a straight path relative to Earth's surface. Its strength is proportional to the speed of the Earth's rotation at different latitudes. Fantastic. Now, can you provide us some cowbell for that?
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Yeah, have a nice day, you
Have a nice
friggin'
day. According to
clown.
that, planes deviate with the Earth rotating underneath. According to that.
Yeah. Fantastic. Now,
your
now you
example-
got to prove it, Kosho.
Well, no,
Go ahead.
Kosho's example.
Oh, that's correct.
Kosho's example was a demonstration of no deviation. So his citation is backing what.
Him.
Yeah, it works against Kosho. We're saying to have Coriolis on Earth, the Earth must rotate underneath.
Maybe it's quantum Coriolis. Sometimes it actually.
Come on, you can lay here, but don't
sometimes it
jump all over me.
Hey,
Lay
Paul, go
Paul, you
on
got
mute.
mute, Paul.
Oh, sorry.
Jeez.
I think it was
Yeah,
Paul.
Kosho.
I think it was Paul making the
You guys
background
have
noise.
it backwards.
So Kosho,
So
according to
what
that,
are we doing, Kosho?
Kosho, according to that, Earth rotates
Yeah,
underneath
yeah,
planes
guys.
and balls and everything else. So it should rotate underneath your helicopter example, right?
Yeah. Problems.
Kosho,
Nathan,
you.
for the 15th time, I don't want to have to say this again. The helicopter
Alright,
was not an
Kosho.
example of Coriolis. It was me correcting you, explaining Coriolis using a plane going east to west. I was telling you that it's not going to experience it. I was telling you that whenever you're traveling,
Sorry, he just said it's not going to experience it. Your citation said it should.
you're traveling with it.
He just said it wouldn't experience it. My point is your citation says it should experience
Has
it.
nothing to do
Are
with
you dumb?
Coriolis.
You're
Listen,
dumb.
let's talk about
That's
conservation.
my argument. That's my whole argument. Your explanation is one of non-experience of Coriolis. No deviation in the helicopter. Your citation that you've just gone and got says there should be a deviation because the Earth rotates underneath. Now, it's patently obvious to everybody there's never any deviation. Nothing's changing and deviating
latitudes
because
of
Earth
north to
rotates
south.
underneath it.
You
And
understand
your
traveling east
example
to west, the
exemplifies
direction the Earth
that.
spins
And
has
he's just
nothing to do with
rumpusing
that,
the
right?
living
You're
crap
a
out of me.
dumbass, Kosho.
Just rumpusing the crap out of me while I get to the conclusion. What an asshole. Your citation says your helicopter example should have the Earth rotating underneath. Your helicopter example being a solution to why planes don't deviate. So your citation says planes should deviate. Your helicopter example is why they don't. Now that's a contradiction in terms. They should deviate if the Earth rotates underneath, but they don't because it's not rotating.
Nathan,
On top
said
of that,
in
it doesn't say
simple
the
words.
latitudes are
It
the
didn't
cause
say
of the
anything. It said
Coriolis.
you have to
It just
travel
says
through latitudes. If you're
Maybe they
hovering
have,
in the
it
air, you're
doesn't.
not traveling
Kosho.
through
they have a
latitudes.
special anti-Coriolis device.
Define
Kosho.
latitude.
Kosho.
God's
It
sake.
doesn't say
No,
that
hold
the
on.
cause
Hold
is
on.
the latitude.
Let Chocolate. Go ahead, Chocolate.
It doesn't
Go ahead,
say
Chuck.
that the cause of the Coriolis are the latitudes. All it says is the strength is proportional to the speed of rotation at different latitudes. Doesn't say
Yes,
anything about this
exactly.
being the cause, bro.
It tells you exactly what to look
Clown.
for.
So you
You're
just
looking for the
destroyed yourself.
difference
Thank you
between the
very much.
latitudes.
You can't even
You
read.
just destroyed yourself.
So yeah, so to summarise, as I admirably pointed out right at the beginning of this little discussion between us and Kosho, the necessary ingredients to have a Coriolis effect on Earth is asserted in his citation, an assertion that the Earth rotates underneath helicopters, drones, planes, in the same way as you can see a drone in your hand seem to get closer and further away, seem to be travelling towards you and further away from you, when in reality it's stationary and you're rotating underneath. So to have Coriolis, you need Earth rotating underneath. What Kosho and George Netanyahu try and double speak their audiences, and in this case my audience, around with, is the idea that it retains the velocity of the non-inertial reference frame. In other words, demonstrating no Coriolis. Why do they do this? Well, because we don't observe any Coriolis. You could literally jump in the air and have the Earth rotating underneath you. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson says, the ball's travelling through the air and the Earth's rotating underneath. Like Kosho's example that he gone and cited said.
I know what this is.
Nathan, can I
Nathan, when it
can
says
I
the strength is
continue for a
proportional to
few
the speed of
seconds
Earth's
more?
rotation, it's different
In the same
latitudes.
citation,
How does that make
right?
sense on a helicopter?
Kosho, shut up for a second. In the same citation, further down, says Coriolis effect definition. The Coriolis effect is an apparent effect, an illusion produced by a rotating frame of reference. Yeah.
Perfect. And with that, I'll say, if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley channel, then this is where we bid you farewell. I think there was one last super chat. Let's just have a quick check. Yes, there was. Shout out to Awaken Narrative. Nathan, they can't keep a lie straight. Smashed. Indeedy do. So yes, a huge massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. And of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this live show possible. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum if you want to keep up to date with the community debate. As I say, stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Show.
Yeah,
What?
it doesn't have to show.
So what happens if you fly north? Because I hear if you go further to the poles, the speed of rotation reduces. So if you're on somewhere in the equator and you're flying 1,000 miles an hour diagonally or sideways, and you head up north, where the speed of rotation is now less than 1,000 miles an hour, does the plane have to calculate like what's going on? Because I mean,
power flight,
it seems like a
they don't have to
calculating
calculate for
nightmare to try to land a plane going north.
Guys,
Stop breathing
are
down
we
your
recording?
mic for crying out loud.
10th man, you're breathing in the mic.
My word, people.
All right. I've been dying to make a statement here. Okay, I think I know what's going on with this Coriolis confusion.
I'm on mute.
Are you?
Yeah, I just want to let you know I'm on mute. Go ahead. I'm
Okay.
still on mute.
I think I know what's going on. It seems like, well, we know for certain that Coriolis either happens and then it happens on everything, or it doesn't. You know, we understand that, but they seem to be confused and are going selective with this. So I think I know what's going on. I think this is...
Did you hear the question the other guy about traveling from the equator to the North Pole?
Can you please shut up and let me finish?
The,
Fuck's sake. Right, I know.
you understand that?
No.
You understand why he said that?
Yeah, we get it. Go on, Arwin.
Right. I think what they're experiencing is Schrodinger's Coriolis effect. So they're not sure as to whether there is Coriolis effect or not, but as long as they don't check it can be either. So sometimes there can be Coriolis effect, other times there can't be. And as long as they just don't look, it can be like this. How does that sound?
Good thing the argument's not about the Coriolis effect.
Yeah, it's about the causes that Earth would need to have that. Earth would need to be a non-inertial spinning reference frame to have Coriolis.
I get the joke.
But good gag. You've been sat on that for the whole show, haven't you, Arwin? I can tell.
Yeah.
Schrodinger's Coriolis. Sometimes it might be there in the fridge.
Cornholius.
Well, it can be there or it cannot be there. But as long as you don't check, it can be either. So it can be selective that way.
Oh, the shape of my world smashed the super chat at the end. Great show, he says. Fire, thumbs up. Thanks, Shape of My World, even though you can't hear me.
Arwen, it's been explained explicitly when you would expect to see Coriolis. I've said it, or at least I've tried to say at least 3 or 4 times.
I don't even know how you're still talking. You already destroyed your own argument.
Don't be confused, though. It can happen anytime.
Say that again,
I know.
Kosho. Just Kosho
You're
and
showing to
Arwen.
see Coriolis when things are
You want to ask me
spinning.
a question?
Oh, Brian, just Kosho and
Hey,
Arwen.
Nathan, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear everybody except
Kosho.
Kosho and Arwen.
Yesterday, when you were arguing with George, he said that you would deviate if you fell out of a helicopter.
He said all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, chocolate. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Arwen kind of agreed with the point, which makes me think that that's the end of the discourse between Kosho and Arwen, maybe.
Yeah. And Chocolate was asking Kosho why Kosho was still speaking after he bashed his own head in with a shovel with his citation.
What are you talking about?
Kosho.
Listen to me. You guys are all grown men. I'm not going to
weren't there,
intelligence
Kosho?
at all. You understand what
Kosho
that
wasn't
says.
there.
I know
I
you
can do it
do.
concisely.
So
I can
don't,
do it
like,
concisely.
I don't know how confused you have to be.
No worries, Kosho.
Were
Does,
you there? Can you
does a
hear me?
plane retain the inertial velocity as you claimed at the beginning, or is your citation correct? Can't be both. They're contradicting each other.
What are you talking about?
I'll say it again.
What was the first question?
You claimed that the inertial velocity is
Say it
retained.
like a regular person, man. Like a regular adult.
Can't help it if you're a dumb fuck. I have to
Yeah,
speak
say it
slower
normally,
when
'cause,
people
like, you're
don't
talking to an
understand me.
adult. That's how conversations happen, man.
Okay, I'll talk like a normal person. Your initial claim was the inertial velocity is retained when you leave the spinning reference frame. And because it's retained, it's
right.
going 1,000 miles an hour, the same as the non-inertial reference frame beneath it. That was your initial claim. Now then you cited a source.
So
I hadn't finished explaining. This is
look
why
at
you
what I
don't
said, and let's look
understand.
at what we're
This is
talking
not a normal conversation, Kosho.
Kosho,
This is not how people converse. I'm trying to
You took a
explain to
break. I
somebody
thought you were done
fundamentally
talking, and then I
retarded
started
how
talking,
their
and you were
doublespeak
talking at the
works.
same time.
But when I get to the doublespeak, they start interrupting. This isn't a normal conversation. This is an asshole globehead interrupting me while I
Took a
summarise
break.
the contradiction that you hold. So you don't have to like me showing you your contradiction and pointing out that your citation absolutely flies in the face of your first assertion, that it's retaining the velocity. Now, if it's retaining the velocity, it's
Nathan.
not drifting as per your citation.
Duh.
So this is your break.
Kosho,
okay.
you're
Now
done,
start
bro.
talking.
You're so done.
Okay. So now that Nathan's done talking, I'm going to respond.
Osho is
he
so
doesn't
done, he's
accuse me
starting
of
to turn to
interrupting him.
charcoal.
Nathan, like I said, the Coriolis effect. You're going to see it in a ballistic when you're traveling through latitudes, different latitudes, because they're different speeds. As I told you, when you leave and you lift off, you're going to retain the speed that you lift off, where you lift off.
Then there is no Coriolis effect.
What if
How many
you're
times have I
north?
got to say it? If you retain the speed of the inertial reference frame, there is no deviation.
Nathan, I'm not going to get to the end of this, and you're going to think I'm saying something different.
That's what
You
you've just said.
did get to the end of it.
It
and then you
retains the
responded.
inertial velocity. That's what you've just said.
Nathan.
If it retains
I
the
haven't
inertial
finished what I
velocity,
said, Nathan. I haven't finished it
Nathan,
yet.
please leave me ask Kosho a question.
No, hold on.
Please.
Let me finish saying this first, and then you can ask the
Brian,
question because I'm
hold
going to probably
on.
answer that right in the next sentence.
Spent
One
an hour
sentence.
trying to ask you this.
So what is the
Kosho.
next
Just one
sentence?
Nobody's
sentence.
ever
I'm not
shown
going
an
to ask
example
you.
of this.
Let
Y'all
him get to
saying
the
all
next
this shit. Nobody's ever
I
shown an
haven't
example.
finished talking. Okay? The latitude line. If you left the speed going 1,000 miles per hour and you didn't leave that latitude, you're going to retain that speed and you're going to land at the same speed.
Okay, the
Coriolis
planes
is going
that
to
go
happen
north.
whenever you go through a different latitude and experience a different speed.
Oh, I see. So
Yeah,
what you're
planes go
saying
north.
is, you're saying that you retain the inertial velocity until you slightly move, and then when you slightly move, the Earth starts to rotate underneath.
See, this is what happens whenever you talk and you don't listen to what I'm saying.
I'm asking you for clarity.
Because
Hey, Brian,
I'm wasting my time
hold
trying to ask
off.
you will you answer the
Jesus
question.
Christ.
Also, if
Brian,
I'm flying in a plane from north to south, 1 second, John. If I'm flying in a plane from north to south,
please
should that
present
plane
all
experience
while
Coriolis?
it's
Yes or
pretty
no?
good.
Yeah, any
Is that a yes or
listen,
no?
any
Yes or no,
vehicle,
Coach?
any vehicle
Yes
is going to
or
experience
no?
Coriolis.
Yes or
When you're
no?
in a powered flight, you're constantly making corrections way faster than the Coriolis is going to affect you. So it's not going to be something that they're going to have to like consciously respond to. They're going to be responding to their immediate being level and orienting the plane, all these other things. So the corrections are going to come much quicker than the Coriolis is going to affect those planes.
I didn't get
Okay, and how about a ray gun? Does a ray gun take into account a Coriolis
Sorry,
effect
I
that
was
you
still
described?
trying to get clarity. According to what you have just described to me, Kosho, the Earth and atmosphere essentially travel as one reference frame when you leave the non-inertial reference frame, the spinning reference frame. So according to you, you retain the velocity of the non-inertial spinning reference frame when you leave it. Now, first and foremost, that would not exhibit any Coriolis effect. You then assert that as you change... What's your problem?
Nathan, are you seeing polls?
Not you, Arwin. Yeah, I've put
no,
it up
but
already, Arwin. Yes, thank you. You then asserted that when you change from a latitude to a different position, that you would see a deviation. So you don't see any deviation when you leave the reference frame that's spinning, and it retains the velocity of the reference frame. And then when you change position, you see a deviation. So essentially that means that the Earth
Is the word I use
What's your
position or is
problem?
it
What's your problem?
You're incorrectly stating what I said.
I haven't finished stating
I
it.
didn't say change position.
I haven't finished.
I said change latitude.
Yeah, I heard you, and I clarified that. When you change position, I did say those words. I have clarified correctly.
So don't say
You're just an asshole fundy who's interrupting me while I summarise your nonsense again. As I point out the contradiction, he'll start interrupting. Fundy. So I'll try again.
Do me a
Kosho,
favor.
I beg
Do
of
me a
you.
favor and
I'm
don't
asking
say
you
position.
nicely.
Just say
I'm asking you nicely, Kosho. I clear the airwaves for you so you can make your nonsense points to the point that I can summarise them, because I've heard them. Now, I'd like to be heard. That means please don't interrupt me. I'll start again from the big...
Just please
I've
use
got two
latitude
words
instead of
out. I've got 2 words out. Please, I'll
Yeah,
ask
I
you
was
again.
already talking. I was
2
saying
words
that's all.
again, please. Again.
Latitude is a position.
Who's this asshole? I'm trying to talk to Kosho and ask him politely for the 3rd time to not interrupt my concise summary of what he has just explained. Please, I will start now. You explained that you retain the velocity of the non-inertial spinning reference frame when you leave it initially. Ergo, no deviation. The helicopter is essentially above the ground it took off from because it's retained the velocity. That is what you have stated. I have understood it. I'm not asking for you to interrupt. I do understand that is your position that you have declared. Retention of angular velocity upon leaving the non-inertial reference frame. You then declare that when you change latitude, you would observe a deviation from that non-inertial reference frame if you were looking at it. Ergo, you are deviating because where the Earth was not rotating underneath your position, it starts to rotate under your position, creating the deviation where there formerly was none. So you essentially have an Earth that is not rotating underneath, then an Earth that starts rotating underneath when you move your position. That is your ludicrous position that you are asserting here.
What up? It's your boy.
That is not my position, and you almost had it. I was almost proud of you, but that was not my position. The last part of it was the part where you flawed. I didn't say when it starts moving once you change latitudes. I said it's moving at a different speed, and you know this.
Okay, so when it has the Earth underneath it not moving at all, what speed is that?
They're just different speeds. At the equator, it's
There's zero! If it's not moving underneath it, that would be zero. So it goes from not moving, or zero speed, Kosho, to moving, the speed of the Earth rotating underneath. So I am not incorrect, and I have understood, and I have summarised your absurd position correctly. You claim it retains the velocity and has zero speed of the Earth rotating underneath, and then when it moves, the Earth and its velocity is experienced because it does rotate underneath. So it goes from not rotating underneath to rotating underneath, according to Kosho. This is absolute nonsense!
okay. Instead of thinking about it in that weird way.
Ah, screw you, Kosho. You are brain dead, beyond fundamental understanding for most normal people.
Speed than you.
You are so stupid, it is untrue.
Nathan, can I please finish what I started with him? Because that will crush his argument. If you leave me, I actually have some details that will crush his argument.
Crush his argument? He's already been crushed. He crushed himself.
How so?
Go ahead. How so?
So I'll draw the conclusion. Either the Earth rotates underneath, or it doesn't. You can't have things retaining the velocity and then suddenly have the Earth rotating underneath. That's not Coriolis effect. Either it rotates underneath when it leaves the non-inertial reference frame, and Fundy's gonna rumpus me, isn't he? Because I'm battering him. So he needs to obfuscate this point, because it's where he's wrong, where he's got a contradiction. You can't have it rotating underneath when it moves, and not rotating underneath when it initially leaves the frame of reference. That's nonsense. You can't have your helicopter or your drone in your hand on a roundabout, leave your hand and track with you on the roundabout until it starts moving north. That's not Coriolis. That's nonsense.
Why do you feel the need to say the same thing 8 times?
Because you're stupid and you don't listen, and you'll reassert your fundamentalist incorrect assertions indefinitely, with me getting more and more angry just entertaining my audience as I burst a blood vessel with you telling me I don't understand your ludicrous position, that you don't have any deviation when it first takes off, and then suddenly it travels north and the Earth starts rotating underneath. It's absolutely ludicrous.
Nathan, when did I
Kosho, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hold on to your citation.
When did he say the Earth wasn't spinning underneath? He said the Earth wasn't spinning underneath when he declared that it retained the inertial velocity of the non-inertial reference frame. That's why it seems to hover. That's why the helicopter's not got the ground moving underneath. That's when you asserted it, you stupid dick.
Kosho, I'm going to hold on to your citation. And every time you show up here with this Coriolis nonsense, we're going to pull it out and destroy you with it. Because you're ridiculous.
Kosho, hold it together. Kosho, hold it together. You're doing well.
Oh, your wingman says you're doing well.
Oh, he's doing well. Hot tub torpedoes.
Can I now say what I was going to tell Kosho?
What up, Zanik?
Yes, go ahead, Brian. Sorry to keep you in the wings for so long.
Can't hear you, Nate.
Yes, go ahead, Zanik. Sorry, not Zanik, Brian. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. What Kosho was asserting is that when the plane takes off in the north and heads south, that because the Earth is spinning at different speeds underneath as it goes through latitudes, that the plane has to take the Coriolis into account. Now, if you take a flight from London, the United Kingdom, to Lagos, Nigeria, which is a straight line down, if you take into account the distance that that plane flies, the time of that flight that it takes to go, and you take in the average speed of the type of plane that flies, you will find out that the planes that fly from Heathrow, London to Lagos, Nigeria, actually have to fly less than their average speed to reach Lagos for that distance within that time. The average speed of that plane is 540 to 575 miles an hour, and they only have to fly 498 miles an hour to reach Lagos within the times given by the airline companies. So how does that plane deal with the Coriolis effect, which would mean that the flight would have to be longer and off over to the left.
Also, I'd like to say
It
something
can't.
whenever you get a moment.
I would like
Yeah,
to know
finish.
what this calculation is called. Do planes actually do this? And is it the new planes that do it? What
Yeah,
about the
that's-
older
that's-
planes that didn't have computers? Did they just do it by hand with their watch? How do they calculate this?
Are
this
you asking me?
massive
Sorry,
move?
are you asking me?
Well, no, this is a
No, he's
rhetorical
asking
question. It
Kosho.
doesn't- there
He's
is no such
asking
thing.
about
Oh,
the
sorry.
Coriolis deviation being calculated in, and I'd also like to know about the planes factoring in the angular velocity that they retain. I'd like to see that calculated too.
I actually talked to Zanuck and Truth Lover on Discord, I think last week or something, and I was talking to them about flights from the equator flying north, and they actually admitted that it's so the Coriolis effect is so negligible they don't account for it. So if you don't account for it, that means that it's not there.
Isn't
I
that
love it.
convenient? Whenever we're looking for something that's supposed to exist that doesn't exist, they tell us it exists, but oh, it's just very negligible. Sounds like bullshit to me, guys.
Well, the
Reminds me
world's
of
a big
Joseph Smith.
Sorry.
Where are the golden tablets? Oh, don't worry, I have them.
It's negligible.
Like it's so big.
We-
It's so big. That's why you see it flat.
We account for jet streams and wind velocity, but this Coriolis effect, nah.
Did somebody just say, "Where are the golden tablets"? Don't worry, I have them.
I did.
Nice.
I didn't.
Don't
I guess
worry. It's negligible. They're very negligible golden tablets.
I dropped the that video I was playing in.
We already got one.
Sorry, I know you probably didn't want to share it, Nathan, but I just wanted to have it up for anybody that could see it.
The
That was
example you
really
were playing,
cool,
I did
actually.
put up.
I'm gonna save that.
Golden tablets, you say? We already got one.
So the absurdities of proving a spinning ball Earth takes another turn, where Kosho gives a citation that backs our argument.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Zanuck
had to
saying that
ask
this
him
already
for that
wants to talk.
citation because I was tired of hearing this bullshit. So I'm glad I did because he destroyed himself with it. Thanks.
Yeah, that was so obvious. But again, if you're in his position where you block out all common sense, you're just going to come up with absurdities and give us citations that help our cause and destroy yours, but you don't see it.
Yeah, well,
Zanuck-
maybe when you're in his position, you want to read your full citation because the first sentence destroyed him, and then you go further down, and it's literally got the definition that gives you the cause for the Coriolis, which has nothing to do with the damn latitude lines, which only have to do with the
Damn what?
speed.
Oh, Zanuck saying he's muted and he wants to come in and talk. So
Wait,
come in
so
and
what
mute
is the
him so we
Coriolis
can
effect
smash him
not
too.
taken into
Is he?
account?
No worries, I'll sort him out. Right, Zanuck. Oh yeah, so you are.
What do you think he said that?
Whatever Jim Panda said, in the absence of the atmosphere, he's correct. This is what will happen. If we take away the atmosphere, Jim Panda.
Why does the atmosphere affect the Coriolis?
If we take away the atmosphere.
No,
Why-
no, it's
remember
not
yesterday? People always laugh if they don't. It's mock what they don't understand.
Let
Don't
me-
laugh
okay.
until you understand.
Come on, Zanuck, with your hot tub.
No worries.
What's
the
it going to be
atmosphere
today?
comes-
The spinning hot tub?
Atmosphere comes with friction.
Get some cowbell.
Shit.
So has this been
Atmosphere
demonstrated?
Comes with friction.
Has
with
this been
friction.
demonstrated or what? Hello?
Mr. Friction. Mr. Friction, has this been demonstrated or what?
Has what been demonstrated?
What you're claiming?
And does a ray gun experience this Coriolis you speak?
Don't worry about the ray gun. We're on
Ray gun.
friction.
Ronald Reagan.
I haven't been engaged in this conversation.
Somebody said friction.
I-
Who's the friction guy?
I had something about Gem Panda saying if
I'm
you
the
remove the
friction guy.
atmosphere.
I'm the friction guy.
Go ahead.
Thanks
Do
for
you
the background noise with it. We love that.
want to make your claim again? Is it Tokic? I can't really read your name, sorry. That 10th point.
Unbelievable.
Zanik keeps saying he's muted
By the
again,
way,
so somebody's muted.
Kosho, by the way, Kosho, even if there is no atmosphere, when your plane takes off, it is still in the inertial, non-inertial reference frame, in the rotation reference frame of the Earth because of the gravity.
Oh, well then there is no Coriolis effect then. If it stays in the non-inertial reference frame, it would have to leave that to demonstrate Coriolis effect.
I heard gravity. So
Yeah.
what does gravity
This
do?
fight to have gravity holding the atmosphere is a fight to have no Coriolis. So when you're saying you don't see
How does
deviation,
gravity actually do that?
gravity's making them all travel together. Well, that's saying
No,
gravity's
let's talk
meaning
about
there's no Coriolis.
conservation of linear momentum.
Okay.
Conservation of linear momentum. That's period. That's it.
Oh
it's so simple.
my God! How many times?
I've been listening
Get-
for an
shut
hour.
up.
You guys, no one's
I'm sick
addressed.
of you.
Oh, is it Huey keep putting him on mute? I'm taking you off mute and Huey's putting you back on.
It's a conservation of linear momentum.
Two reference frames. So just to round that out for the dude that's saying gravity's holding the air, traveling with the Earth. Well, then you've only got one reference frame, and you need two to have Coriolis effect. So your argument fights against having Coriolis effect. You've gone very quiet.
Coriolis is observable only from the ground.
Yeah, and you're saying that the Earth and atmosphere travel as one. That would give you no Coriolis effect, no deviation to observe.
I don't care what you don't want to observe.
Just said it's only observable from the ground, and in your example, it takes off with the atmosphere travelling at the same speed. So you look at the ground and it just takes off. You don't see it hooking to the right because you're spinning underneath it. In your example, you're not spinning underneath it. So no Coriolis then, mate.
There is no atmosphere. You will observe that. Yes.
That was what I asked you to demonstrate. So when's this no atmosphere thing been done?
You can't observe it because atmospheres.
Oh, who cares then? So what we do observe is no deviation. That's what we observe in reality. Planes aren't deviating. Now you're saying they don't deviate because the Earth and atmosphere travels as one. Well, then there's no Coriolis.
Because they don't travel that fast in the first place. They can't.
All of your they don't travel fast. You're saying reasons why we don't see Coriolis, mate.
You need a railgun.
What are you talking about?
How fast does it have to go?
Look, he's arguing for there not being any Coriolis. He's saying Earth and
Right.
atmosphere travel as one. He's arguing for
Right.
there not being any. He doesn't seem to get that. You're saying there's no observable deviation in these planes, mate. Well, there should be. If there's Coriolis.
There is no conservation of momentum since there is a friction with the atmosphere.
So you're saying Earth and atmosphere travel as one.
Will lose that initial velocity.
So
okay?
Earth and atmosphere travel as one.
From the velocity.
Friction with
of
the atmosphere.
He's not
I would
listening to you,
suggest that
Nathan.
it
He's-
Yeah, I know
doesn't
he's not.
move in
And everyone
lockstep.
else is rumpusing in the in-between bits.
Yep.
If there's any friction with the atmosphere, that means that it's not moving in lockstep. What else
The
would be
bullshit
causing
has no end.
Yep. They contradict themselves with every other breath. They don't even
No,
realize it.
I just told you. If you remove the atmosphere, what
When's this been done?
What?
Let's do this 5 more times. Have you done this?
observable?
Have you done it?
It is observable. You just don't know what.
Why are we removing
Unless you can
atmosphere? What the
remove the
fuck is going on in here?
Yeah, I know.
No,
You can do
he
it
said
on the
it.
moon.
It is
If you see my
observable.
I'll try
We
once
just
more.
don't
Let's
know
see if I
what
can try it with him
moving.
once more. The guy in Discord. Please try and listen. If you are claiming that the Earth and atmosphere travel as one, then you are fighting for there being no Coriolis effect observable.
I think I know what he's saying. If he doesn't come back, maybe I can explain. I think Erwin's on.
That was just a
track
nice
what
long silence, Paul, where I
Yeah.
point out that he's arguing for having no Coriolis when he says that they're travelling as one. But that just got a long silence out of him. Maybe the penny's dropped. Maybe he'll come back and start telling me how they're travelling as one. Like he needs to fight for there being no Coriolis indefinitely.
not exactly as one, okay? Because air is not a medium that will force the bullet to travel, okay, with the earth. It can still deviate, okay? There will be a Coriolis, but not according to the map. You have to take into account the friction with the air, with the atmosphere. The atmosphere will push that bullet according to Earth's rotation, okay?
Really?
You realize there's a ballistics expert on the
Sorry,
panel there.
hold on. He's just said bullet will be pushed according to Earth's rotation. So the bullet deviates because of
Yeah.
Earth rotation.
It will push it, but it will not.
No, it won't. You stupid idiot. Coriolis effect is an apparent deviation, so it is absolutely not being pushed. At this point, you have nothing more to offer in this conversation.
Are you talking about Coriolis acceleration?
I'm talking to the guy who just said the bullet's being pushed when we are talking about an apparent force and not actual force. So the moment he says the bullet's being pushed, he's unwelcome in this conversation.
After you fire the bullet, is
That
the
means
bullet
shut up.
so-called-
That means shut up.
It's
That means
low-
don't offer anything else. That means sit and listen to the people who know what they're talking about. Or acknowledge me and say, oh, I'm sorry, when I said the bullet's being pushed, I'm just fundamentally retarded. That doesn't mean talk through me tearing a strip off you. It means shut your mouth and listen to me explain that when you say the bullet's pushed, it demonstrates to everybody here that you don't understand Coriolis and not actual force. So shut your mouth. Don't add anything more to the conversation. The Earth doesn't travel with the atmosphere because it's defied by multiple directions of surface winds, and it's defied by gas law. Gas moves freely in all directions. It's not bonded. So your assertion it's being carried with Earth is nonsense. Don't add anything else. Don't respond. I don't want to hear another word from you.
Yeah.
Can I circle back to the guy that was talking about the sniper? And John, I know you can chime in too.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to give my anecdotal story because I actually did a little research while I was in the background. An M1 Abram tank has an effective range that's declassified as about 15,000 meters, which is about 9 miles. The longest shot for a sniper is about 2 miles, 2.5 or something like that, roughly. My uncle worked with M1 Abram tanks in the military, and I went and asked him this question, and he basically said they do not account for Coriolis effect. So I would think over longer miles, 9 miles, you would have to account for it even more so, let alone a 2-mile shot, I would think.
Sure, I would completely agree. And, there's more overt demonstrations. If planes were accounting for Coriolis effect, then a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA would only take an hour and a half. Accounting for it would be the joy of Earth rotating underneath that plane. Unfortunately, we don't have these vastly reduced flight times because Earth's rotating underneath. Earth doesn't rotate underneath.
Yeah, let's remember too that when Planet Walk came on here, and he tried to tell us that a flight from New York to LA actually takes longer. Again, that's a problem because the Earth is spinning from west to east. Should be a lot faster, but that doesn't happen. We don't see it. It's nonsense.
Touchy subject, this one. I mean, people like George Netanyahu, who don't understand Coriolis and go around spouting their rhetoric about it, will ultimately always attack people who do understand Coriolis effect and point out that plane durations would be reduced if the Earth was rotating underneath, as per the Coriolis effect. Well, when people like Brian Mullen do that, people like George Netanyahu will go after them like the fundamentalist religious zealots that they are.
Dunning-Kruger clowns, man.
Actually, I was watching.
Nathan, you know how Jesuits are known to kind of chastise themselves to penance?
Yeah.
Right? Well, I think that George may be using shaving as a penance.
What's up with this shaving thing?
All right, I didn't go back and watch it, but
before we
did
get
you
to the
really
shaving,
stress him out to the point where he was shaving?
We'll get to that later.
Live on screen?
Twice on camera.
Get to that in a minute. Go ahead, Paul.
Maybe it was a cutting edge argument.
Back on the other topic, I remember when Ryan Mullins did the Coriolis thing, and he was talking about the plane flying from over the North Pole, and how the fast the plane would be moving, it would firstly the Earth would turn back underneath of the plane, and he would land back at the same spot he took off because of the way the Coriolis effect would work. And that video I was showing is actually demonstrating that, because the guy pushes the thing on the table, and literally it comes back to himself. I don't know if you saw that on the demonstration.
That reference frame video was pretty good. I liked it.
Nathan, this episode was absolutely phenomenal. The more the more we let them dig a hole on Coriolis, the more absurd everything is on their side, to the point where he has to give a citation that backs our side and doesn't even get it.
4 more hours. 4 more hours. Everyone.
Hours.
You know, they can say anything they want about gravity, but Coriolis, they are stuck, pun intended, because with Coriolis, they are already saying the Earth is moving. And if they take the single reference frame, like Kosho did, then there is no Coriolis, but they've already admitted to Coriolis. If they take that there is Coriolis,
I said a single reference frame.
then it must.
But I said multiple latitudes.
Then wait a minute. Do I hear an echo? Is that coming through the force space?
Yeah, it's a Kosho echo.
Yeah. So
Kosho, are you down now? Yeah. Is it listening to what I said?
Read for me in that document that I sent you guys. Where it's contradicting itself.
Yeah.
Can I finish the eulogy and then you can come back?
Go ahead, 10th.
And then if they do agree to Coriolis, then they got to explain why it doesn't happen under anything in free flight. Then they come up with this crazy argument that it's powered flight, which actually would help them prove Coriolis, because you could hover in one place and watch the Earth go underneath you. Everything falls apart when you dig into Coriolis.
Okay. Anyone who's an adult and has ears, do your very best to listen.
Shut up.
Because it doesn't take very long, and it's not very hard to understand.
Kosho, your voice is so soothing.
Different latitudes.
Hold on.
I love it.
Hold on.
No, I love
question.
his calm.
No, I mean, what you're saying is true.
Hold on, just one second. Just one second.
You will experience different Coriolis at different places, as the Earth is, spherical, so, or whatever it is, whatever you want to consider it to be. Like, if you were to move at the same rate, the further out you get, along where there's a larger radius to the Earth, the faster you're going to be moving. However, relatively, you're still going to be moving at the same rate.
Sorry, no, that's incorrect. Sorry, no, that's incorrect, and I have a real life example to disprove it. If you take a flight from London Heathrow to Lagos, Nigeria,
We already did that. You already said this.
And the time.
That's not what I'm talking
about.
about.
Has to go, and the time it takes for the plane to get there, and the average speed of that plane can fly less than average speed to get to Lagos. So no, there is no Coriolis north to south. That's nonsense. There's no Coriolis at all. Earth is not moving. It's not a globe. End of story.
Hey, Kosho, I have a video that I pilot, and because I was in ground school, and I'd asked. I said, how come during operation we don't, compensate for any Coriolis, any precession, or any curvature? Would you like to have I posted a video that shows
I would like
you
for you to listen to when I say something.
So, Kosho, I already know.
I said explicitly what happens in a plane.
If you don't understand your flaw, which means you believe.
What did I say happens in a plane, guy?
If you don't understand your flaw, you have a problem here.
What did I say happened in a plane, guy?
You have to understand for Coriolis to be working.
I want to hear Flat Earth Data's point.
No, you simply red herring the argument.
Everybody's now rumpusing him to tell Kosho not to rumpus him. Hold on, Flat Earth Data. Sorry. I'll just clear the airwaves for you. Just Kosho and Flat Earth Data, but so, preferably Kosho, without. Bear with me. I just want to get some, some ground level rules so that he doesn't rumpus the shit out of you while you make your point. So Kosho, please don't interrupt him. That's it. I'm done. Thanks.
Kosho, do you understand Do you understand that you need the bullet or an object to leave the rotation of the Earth? You understand that, right? You understand something has to leave the reference frame to have the apparent force. You understand that, right?
You're asking me a question, so I'm going to answer it. I've said explicitly in plain English that you have to have two reference frames. The two reference frames would be the two different latitudes. The latitudes are traveling at two different speeds. That is when you're going to experience Coriolis.
Yeah, the reference frame would be the rate of angular drop.
God, right. Look, hold on.
Okay,
Flat Earth data and Kosho only, please.
So Kosho, you've agreed that you need two reference frames, right? One non-inertial reference frame moves, correct? The cause of that moving reference frame is the rotation of the Earth. This is what you claim, right? Right, Kosho?
The cause of the Coriolis is the different speeds in which it's rotating. As I
So
said
it's the
several
rotation.
times.
Awesome. So just to clarify, rotation of the causing the Coriolis, correct?
I said it simply again. If you repeat,
It's just yes or no.
You say
It's just
different
yes or no.
words. If you say different words than what I said, then you're
I
wrong.
don't know why you're having. I don't know why you're having difficulty. You are asserting
The
that
cause is the two different speeds.
So it's not the rotation. It's not the rotation of the Earth. Two different speeds.
It's not purely just the rotation. If you use those simple words, then you're going to confuse yourself.
It's not purely just the rotation.
It's the rotational speed of where you leave and the rotational speed of where you.
I'm clear. I'm just trying to clarify. You seem to be, kind of stretching this out, right? And I'm asking, I'm asking you to clarify. You believe now it's you. Okay, I'm just clarifying. You're claiming two different speeds is of rotation, and that's based on the positions of where the latitude of Earth is, right? That's what you're saying, right? But the initial cause is not the latitude locations. The initial cause is what?
You just said it correctly. Now you're saying it wrong.
No, the initial cause isn't causing the variation. The latitudes aren't the cause of the variation. It's
you said the rotational speed a second ago.
The rotation speed.
The two different rotational speeds.
Okay, so but essentially, all you're pinpointing is there's one inertial reference frame that's rotating, right? You call it the non-inertial reference frame, which is Earth, right?
And then
you leave that one. Great. So we enter into the second frame, right? Now, how do we do that? Is it time or velocity?
What? You're traveling on one speed rotationally.
And how do you
leave and you're not traveling with the Earth anymore?
So how do you leave?
You have to listen,
how do you
man.
leave? How do you leave?
I'm telling
is
you.
It velocity or is it velocity or time? How do you leave?
Talking. You're going to confuse yourself.
I'm not confused, dude. You were confused.
You're traveling at one speed rotationally. Then you leave, and you're traveling at that same speed.
So you leave it.
If you travel while you're in that second reference frame.
Hold on.
Flat Earth data.
I'm not gonna have a conversation with you.
Hold on. Flat Earth data. Hello.
Hello. Leave it.
Flat Earth data. You're rumpusing him. You're not letting him give a full response.
I'm not letting him give a full response.
Yeah. You're interrupting him after about 2 or 3 words.
Well, it seems like
travel.
Go ahead, Coach.
Leave at one rotational speed that the Earth's spinning in. Then you leave that reference frame.
And how do you leave that reference frame?
You've done it again.
You're in that reference frame.
Kosho, hold on a second. Right, I realise that's the point you want to interrupt him because that's the point you've got to demolish him, but you've still got to let him finish.
While you're in that second reference frame, still traveling that same speed you left, where the Earth was spinning at the same speed when you left it at. While you're in that second reference frame, if you travel into different latitudes and you're landing where there's now a different rotational speed, you're still going that same speed you were when you left off. And this is going to cause somebody who's on the Earth to make it seem as if you veered to the left or to the right. This is what Coriolis is, and this is what our observation is when we see it.
Okay, so you're saying that an airplane has to travel in time to exit the non-inertial reference frame into the secondary reference frame, right?
What?
Because it's traveling a distance, right? It's traveling from point A to point B.
Yeah,
right?
Please do that, yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. But you're saying that from point A to point B, it has to leave a reference frame to enter a second reference frame. This is what you're claiming. Because if it doesn't, it won't, there's no apparent Coriolis.
Yeah, but like I said, when I first
Okay,
started
yes,
talking to
awesome.
Nathan,
Yeah, great. Now, great.
planes don't experience this.
Listen.
Because they're experiencing much more
Hold on,
subtle.
Kosho. He was just looking at Kosho.
differences.
Come on, he was only looking for a quick concession. He still had a further point. Come on, go ahead.
No, he's trying to
Data.
trap me and causing me to say something that I'm not even
Just look
meaning
for a
to
quick
say
concession.
at
He hasn't made his point yet. Go ahead, Flat Earth Data.
You trapped yourself, dude. When exactly does it enter the second?
all. When it leaves the ground and it travels to a different latitude.
Okay.
So it's progressive then.
He
So
just
it's,
gave
it's
two.
progressive.
He just gave two. When you leave the ground, then he said, when you travel to a different latitude. So he's got two different occasions. The first leaves him stationary, with the Earth not rotating underneath. Then he moves, and the Earth starts to rotate underneath.
I
love
know I've
those
cleared this
sentences.
up a few times already too.
Yeah, that's what you've just said. You gave two answers, didn't you?
Difference is you're spinning at the same speed with it if you don't switch latitude.
Yeah, that's the first answer. Initially spinning with the same speed. Now give the second scenario, where it changes direction and suddenly the Earth rotates underneath.
When you leave the ground and you switch latitudes and it's at a different speed, this is a different
Do you hear?
frame.
Different speed of the Earth rotating underneath. So in his first example, Earth not rotating underneath. In his second example, Earth rotating underneath when you change directions. So he's got two contradictory positions he's holding.
I never once said it was not traveling underneath you.
Oh, really? So when you described at nausea how we have the non-inertial reference frame and a helicopter taking off and retaining the velocity, not demonstrating it deviating in any way, that's you not describing it not turning underneath. You double-speaking asshole. Yeah, it is.
No, I didn't say
That was your first claim here. You take off, it retains the velocity. And we went on and on about, oh, it's moving backwards with the Earth. No, it's not really moving backwards. It's just not demonstrating any deviation because it's retained the velocity. That's you exampling the Earth not rotating underneath. You're just a liar and a double speaker.
Describe the same thing twice.
You've described it not rotating underneath in the first example, rotating underneath when you move latitudes. That's two contradictory positions, holding two mutually exclusive positions at the same time. It can't start by not rotating underneath in the second reference frame, the inertial reference frame, after leaving the non-inertial reference frame. Your claim is it leaves the non-inertial reference frame and is still travelling at exactly the same speed. Ergo, the Earth's not rotating underneath according to your first example. Your first claim here, the same as George's claim. Earth and atmosphere travel as one. Or as you put it, it retains the angular velocity, not deviating. Then you say you move north and the Earth starts to rotate underneath. Well, that's complete bollocks. It doesn't start rotating underneath depending on something in that reference frame. The plane doesn't dictate whether Earth rotates underneath based on its change of direction. That's absolutely absurd.
I feel like no, I need you to stop. Nathan just addressed me. I need to respond to what he said. Nathan, I feel like you understand this, and I need you to understand that I'm not saying at one point in anything I'm saying that the Earth is not spinning at any point. I'm never once saying that. I'm saying that the Earth is spinning and the craft, whatever it is spinning at the same exact rate as the Earth before it switches latitudes. That's it.
So
It doesn't mean that the Earth's not moving.
Coriolis
It just means they're both traveling at the same rate. And they don't travel at different rates until it switches latitudes. This is a simple concept, and please don't turn this around and say I'm saying it's not moving. I'm not saying it's not moving. I'm saying it's staying the same rate. That's it.
Sorry, staying the same rate is the Earth not spinning underneath.
Airliners. Be a nightmare for airliners to calculate the landing when they're moving all about, going up, going north, going south, east, west. They're going all over the fucking place at all sorts of different speeds. When they don't calculate any of this shit.
Coriolis effect is not selective.
What pissed
Either
me off
it
is
is
I had to say
general or
something.
it is not.
Right, exactly, Owen. Well summarised. It's not selective. It doesn't change if you change latitudes. You leave the non-inertial reference frame and the Earth rotates underneath if you have a Coriolis effect. It doesn't leave the non-inertial reference frame and retain any velocity, because that would be pissing in the face of Coriolis effect, i.e. no Coriolis effect. Now the reason they do this, the reason Kosho does this, is because they need to have a get around when we don't observe anything deviating. In reality, a helicopter takes off and the Earth doesn't rotate underneath it. Well, their explanation for that is Earth and atmosphere travelling as one. In other words, The reason you don't see any Coriolis effect in the helicopter or plane is because Earth and atmosphere travel as one. But they double speak around the fact that that pisses in the face of having a Coriolis effect. We should see a deviation in the helicopter. We just don't. Well, how do they get around that? Well, they say, well, when it's retaining the angular velocity when it first takes off. But then if you move north, then the latitudes are the cause, even though he'll provide a citation that absolutely defies that and says, as we say, if the Earth rotates underneath, then the Earth rotates underneath a plane, a helicopter, even the helicopter he's detailing that doesn't demonstrate it, that doesn't have any Coriolis effect, but then will start to have a Coriolis effect when it moves north. No, Arwin's correct. It's not selective. You either have a Coriolis effect when you chuck your ball off a moving roundabout, it seems to deviate away from you, or it doesn't. It's as simple as that.
It's so crazy that this is so simple and you guys don't understand. It's
Kosho,
we do
can I ask you
understand.
one
Ah,
simple
you're
Go ahead
addicted
and repeat
to
it and
Schrodinger's
restore your argument
Coriolis
again.
effect.
just
He's
have different
addicted to
speeds.
Schrodinger's
This
Coriolis
is the
effect.
only
All right,
difference.
let me ask
Different
Kosho a
speeds.
question, please.
Different speeds of the Earth rotating underneath. Correct, Kosho?
What's correct, Nathan?
Different speeds of the Earth rotating underneath. Correct, Kosho?
That's correct.
So when you describe a helicopter that's hovering, how fast is the Earth rotating
And
underneath?
stationary, that's hovering in the air?
Yes, that's what I just said, and you seem to just be repeating it. We've just established. So
Stationary,
I'll
you said?
summarise without getting rumpused. I'll summarise. Kosho has just conceded that his example has the Earth rotating underneath. And I'm asking him how fast the Earth rotates underneath a
as it
hovering helicopter.
moves.
Let's ask it again. I've got Kosho to concede that the Earth rotates underneath at different speeds according to him. I'm asking him how fast the Earth rotates underneath, as he's just conceded, a hovering helicopter. Second time
Nathan,
I've
what
asked.
is concession? What does that mean to you? Because I said that originally the entire time. How can I?
I've asked for a speed. How fast does the Earth, which according to Kosho, as he's just conceded, rotates underneath at different speeds, how fast it rotates under a hovering helicopter? Third time I've asked.
Yeah, if it's traveling 1,000 miles per hour and it's staying in a helicopter,
It's not travelling 1,000 miles an hour. It's hovering. It's not moving any miles an hour. It's hovering. I'm asking you, the person who says that the Earth rotates underneath, how fast it's rotating underneath the hovering helicopter. Fourth time I've asked.
I mean, it sounds
just
like
explicitly
you're
said it to you, Nathan.
Shut up.
You're asking questions that you.
Who's that? Emerald, right? Shut him up. Do I need to ask a fifth time?
Go ahead, Kosho. Just Kosho.
I'll ask a fifth time. Prolonged silences in
You're
between.
gonna
each
ask me
of
a
my
question. Don't interrupt me halfway through it. I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna
Oh
partake
my
in the
God,
conversation. with you.
there
Then
was
you're gonna say
just an
I'm having a
empty
concession.
space.
You're gonna say I'm having a concession when I said this the entire time, Nathan.
Get
So I don't
on
know
with
what you think
it.
I'm.
Sorry, he's just
Get
said
on
the
to your
same response
point.
as last time, the same obfuscation as last time. I'm asking for a speed, and he's saying about concessions. I'm not asking for a concession. I'll ask for a fifth time, really concisely.
No, what?
So can
I
you not
think you should
rumpus me?
concede, Nathan. I think you should
Keep
concede in
still
saying that
talking about
that a plane
concessions.
traveling from North Carolina to California should take an hour and a half due to Coriolis. When that means that you don't understand at all, not only Coriolis, but relativity or anything. So it has. I don't know why you're saying I'm conceding whenever I explicitly said exactly what I'm saying still the entire.
You done?
Fabric of space
Hey,
time.
let me
Excuse
ask
me,
you one
I'm
question.
asking
Do you
Kosho.
understand how it works?
Why is this guy talking?
Just Kosho.
Why is that guy talking? Sorry, I've asked the same question 4 times. It's in relation to speed and not concessions. Please don't give me an answer about concessions when I'm asking specifically about the concession you have made in regards to
You're going to bring up concession.
He's just rumpusing me. He's rumpusing me now. Hey, Fundy, what's the problem here? I'm not asking about concessions.
Dude, you've had a year to get this through to them, dude. And
I'm going to do it painstakingly, hopefully without your interruption, mate. So, Kosho, you've conceded. Let's see where he rumpuses this time. Pound says it's within about 20 words. You've conceded that the Earth rotates underneath at varying speeds. Now, I'm asking you for the 5th time what the speed you've said rotation occurs underneath at varying speeds, what speed that rotation is occurring underneath a hovering helicopter.
Okay, depending on where it is, let's just say it's at the equator. We'll say it's going 10 or 1,038 miles per hour with the helicopter and the Earth at the same time.
So,
and I'm
you've misunderstood my question. My question was how fast the Earth rotates underneath the helicopter that is hovering.
I just gave you the answer, Nathan.
You gave a speed of the Earth rotation at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. My question was how fast, if I can say it again, because you're too dumb to listen and understand, Kosho.
Did I not say the helicopter
I'm
was
trying
going
my
at
best
speed,
to talk, but you're rumpusing me and not understanding the question. That's
You're gonna
clear.
ask the same question.
Because you've just detailed a speed that it spins with the Earth. When my question, it's now the 6th time of saying it. How fast does the speed that you said the Earth rotates underneath, you conceded the speed changes of the Earth rotating underneath? Now that speed, what's that speed that the Earth rotates underneath the helicopter that's hovering?
Yeah, if you're in a helicopter and you're not changing latitudes, then no, the speed's not going to change. You're going to still travel the same
So
speed.
what is the speed?
Whatever it is where you started.
Sorry.
So,
what's the
so
speed?
it's the speed and not the latitudes now.
What's the speed? I don't need any help,
I feel like you
friend.
guys are purposely not...
Yeah, now you've set him off while I try and summarise the point he's obfuscated, friend. Whoever interrupted. I'll ask again. What is the speed the Earth rotates underneath the helicopter?
The speed it rotates underneath the helicopter.
Yeah, what's
is whatever
that speed?
depending on what latitude.
It just depends at what position it's at. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It'll travel
So I don't
at the
understand how
it'll
you-
travel at the
Five
same
people
rate of
talking.
2 pi radians every day.
They
However,
just
just
can't
the
hang. They
speed
just
of which
can't
it
do
is
it,
spinning
Nathan.
at
Who is
is going to
this?
differ.
Did
People
somebody
in
ask me
Discord.
to answer for
Hello.
him?
Wait. People
Thank you,
in
John.
Discord.
I'm all right.
Now, hold on a
It's
second,
alright.
Nathan.
I want to ask Kosho for the 6th time.
Oh my God.
So Kosho has declared and conceded after previous to this 6th time of me asking him. He conceded Earth rotates underneath at varying speeds. And I've asked him now for the 7th time, what is the speed the Earth rotates underneath the hovering helicopter? 7th time I've asked.
You can do it, Kosho.
You're going to have to depend
I
on
mean, are you talking about in reference of the
Unbelievable.
helicopter? You're talking about
Your
in
name,
reference.
Kosho?
Is your name Kosho? I'll tell you what, Discord, I'm going in there. If someone, Nathan, I want you to ask him, Kosho, the question again. If somebody, anyone other than Kosho answers, I'm going to boot your ass so far out of here, your mother ain't going to recognize you. Go ahead, Nathan.
Having
You actually
conceded...
don't have to ask again. I understand the question.
Well, I'll summarise it
And
again.
I
You
guess
seem to
you're-
be getting help from wingmen, and I want to ask the question.
No.
And then either you have a long, prolonged pause, like the last 7 times I asked, or you answer following me asking it. Not with wingman help and support, but with me asking it.
Why don't
having
you just
declared,
not ask it at
without
all?
rumpusing from you, what your situation is. Your situation being a concession of Earth rotating underneath at varying speeds. And my question is, what speed is the Earth rotating underneath the hovering helicopter? I think that's the 8th time I've asked.
If you're asking in reference to the helicopter, then it's going the same speed as the Earth. So
how fast is the Earth rotating underneath? How fast is the Earth rotating underneath? That is the 9th time I have asked that question, and it still has not been answered by Kosho. I'll ask it again. This is going to be the 10th time. I'm going to ask it concisely again for Kosho. See if he interrupts again.
Nathan,
No, you haven't answered, Kosho. The question you have not answered, I'm going to ask again, Kosho, for a 10th time. Now, you can rumpus the question again and then not answer it again, or we can do it civilized with you just declaring the speed that it's traveling with something else, which isn't what I'm asking. It's quite specifically not what I'm asking.
It's going.
You're stopping when I'm starting. You're going to start talking when I'm talking again. I'm asking, having had you concede. Yeah, he is. He is. Because he can't answer, ladies and gentlemen. He can only talk through the concise 10th repetition of the question he's obfuscated. I'm asking specifically for a speed. The Earth rotates underneath a hovering helicopter, given that he's declared the Earth rotates underneath at varying speeds. And I want to know that speed that the Earth rotates underneath that helicopter. What is that speed that the Earth rotates underneath that helicopter? Give it me in miles an hour. The speed the Earth is rotating under the helicopter.
Miles per hour. Okay. Well, Nathan, you asked the question. I'm answering it now. Okay. So, yeah. In reference to the helicopter, the Earth is going to be going 0.
So it's not rotating underneath the helicopter. That's a contradiction. I already pointed out that at the beginning, 10 times I pointed it out. You made a concession that the Earth is rotating at varying speeds. Now you've just said the speed that it rotates under a helicopter is 0. That's a complete fundamental contradiction.
Did you hear the rest of what I said, Nathan? Or
I heard and summarized 10 times you stating that the Earth rotates underneath at varying speeds. That was what you conceded. I made very careful work of making sure you conceded it concisely and clearly. The Earth rotates underneath at varying speeds. Now your helicopter, the speed it rotates underneath, the variation in speed, is 0. That's what you've just said.
When it's not moving. You do understand that the difference in speeds is when it's changing latitudes, right?
Yes, and according to you, the difference is from 0, that would be no rotation underneath, to whatever you invent.
You're not this slow, dude. Like, you get this, man.
How dare you? How dare you? I rip apart your fundamentalist doublespeak painstakingly and concisely with 10 consecutive repetitions of how you declared the Earth spins underneath, and then simultaneously tell us that the speed it's rotating underneath this helicopter is 0, and you think I'm stupid.
I said in reference to the helicopter.
Yeah, 0 of the Earth rotating underneath. The bit I'm asking about isn't in reference to the helicopter, because it's not rotating underneath. The speed's 0. So what speed's it rotating underneath? Varying speeds, you say? What speed in this instance? Oh, 0? That would be not rotating underneath then. So it doesn't rotate underneath at varying speeds. In this instance, no rotation underneath. A fundamental contradiction. Tell me again, I don't understand, you asshole. Tell me again how it's me. It's not me. I don't understand. I haven't listened to your words. I haven't listened to how you conceded about it rotates underneath at different speeds, only to go on to tell me how the helicopter doesn't have any speed underneath.
Dude, you're gonna fucking be so sad that you.
Oh, you swear at me, you little bitch.
It's like not that hard to understand.
Swear at me. Don't normally swear, do you, Kosho? Go on, you little bitch. Go on.
It's not that hard to understand, Nathan.
Go on, get angry with me while I point out
your whole family, everyone who knows
you
is gonna see all this.
Go on, you little
Nathan.
bitch. Swear at me again, you little bitch, while I point out how your contradiction doesn't
Give
work.
me a shot at this guy, Nathan.
Yeah, you don't understand how your contradiction works. You're a fundamental retard, Kosho. You're basically retarded. You think that differing speeds underneath is 0. That's not a differing speed. That's not rotating underneath. You're just fundamentally fucking retarded, Kosho. I'm here to point that out, like I pointed out to George. Differences while I'm talking here. I can get 6 inches closer to my mic and stop you from rumpusing me, can't I? While I point out that there's a contradiction in your nonsense. You told us that it varies its speed of rotation underneath. What varies down to nothing based on what you're in. It's either rotating underneath or it isn't, Kosho. And according to you, it isn't.
Nathan, there's a couple of flat earthers in here, but there's a lot of
but even when I'm right up to the mic pointing out where his contradiction lies, he's still trying to rumpus me, isn't he? That's all these fundies can do. I'm tired of these assholes. Yeah? They get their absolutely overloaded mics in everyone else's hangout, so they sound like this while they tell you about how the Earth's rotating over and over, overloading the hell out of their mics. Like Kosho's trying to do to me now. I've smashed you, Kosho. Your contradiction's been highlighted 10 times. You said it rotates underneath at different speeds, and then declared that there's no speed of rotation underneath in this helicopter. No, he didn't.
I said the Earth rotates at different speeds at different latitudes, Nathan.
Yeah, rotates underneath at different speeds. There's that concession I got repeated 10 times. Yeah, he's just declared it again, ladies and gentlemen. According to Kosho, it rotates underneath at different speeds. Depending on the latitude, I can add that on. Makes no difference. Depending on your latitude, the speed that it rotates underneath will vary. So it rotates underneath then, Kosho. What about under this helicopter? Shock and awe! It doesn't!
When you asked me 10 times, I told you.
Yeah, it doesn't rotate under the helicopter, asshole. And I can do what you do and get right in my mic. But I'll do it for a different reason, for subtlety. While I calmly, with you swearing at me, point out that you've got a contradiction subtly and quietly and calmly, Kosho. It either rotates underneath, like you keep telling us, at different latitudes it rotates underneath. Yeah, so it's rotating underneath, Kosho. Underneath that helicopter. Uh-oh. Fucked, Kosho. So keep on rumpusing me, mate. Keep on talking through me, demolishing your religion and spinning Earth. I'll just get closer to my mic rather than getting angry and shouting at you. No worries, I can do that too. Yeah? You're wrong, Kosho. Earth doesn't spin. Like your helicopter demonstrates. No deviation, no Coriolis, no apparent drift. No differing speeds at differing latitudes of the Earth rotating underneath. You've made it plain. 0 speed underneath the helicopter. Yeah, Kosho? You can't have it both ways. It either rotates underneath, like you say it does at different speeds, or it doesn't, like we observe in your helicopter.
He doesn't come back. Can I make an observation?
Ooh, selective Coriolis effect. Selective.
He didn't leave. He didn't leave.
Selective.
He's still here.
Selective Coriolis.
You're lucky I'm not in there.
You never know whether Coriolis is going to affect it or not. It's random.
Can I say something real quick before we get rumpused? It's funny. In one breath, they say the reason you don't notice any centrifugal force is because it's 1 rotation per day. But of course, when it becomes to this issue, rim velocity becomes an issue for them. You have to have rim velocity, not just 1 rotation per day. Isn't that interesting?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a difference between angular velocity and tangential speed. They have a problem with that too.
So,
okay, Kosho, you done?
Kosho, yeah.
Kosho, you done?
Ooh.
Thanks. We love hearing that.
Somebody's taking a toilet break.
Why don't you wash your dishes in your friggin' mic? Come on, I want to hear more of that. I can't. I'll tell you what. I can't wait to get the heck out of here.
I just want to know, based on his nonsense, how much you have to move for the latitude to change the speed. Is that a mile, 10 miles? What's he thinking there?
Who was that just did that?
What's that?
That noise. The water.
Oh, I don't know.
It wasn't Discord, I think.
You know, Nathan, I don't think he's coming back, so I'll just say
I just wondered who that was and what that was. What was that sound we just heard?
It was like washing dishes. Kosho in Discord. I'm seeing his light come on. Your mic's not working, dude. Jump out and jump back in again.
Just move to a different latitude. It'll work.
Where'd he go?
Well, he's got a problem with the latitude argument because according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, a 50-yard field goal has the deviation. So It only takes 50 yards, I guess.
Yeah, well, the Coriolis effect can be demonstrated again on a roundabout or a merry-go-round. It has nothing to do with latitude or direction. It's very simple. Okay, he's back in. Kojo, say something.
I agree. It is very simple, which is why it's frustrating that
Okay, there you go.
taking this
You're back.
long. Yeah, I'll reiterate it one last time because I forget what the question. Somebody just asked a question and I was trying to answer it. And I forget what. Oh, right, the different speeds. They said how long do you have to travel before you get to a different speed? Every bit of distance through any latitudes is going to give you a different speed. It's
How
going to be a
much
slightly
is
different
that?
speed, but the
How
Earth is
much
going to be
is
spinning at different rates depending on
How
the
much?
distance from the distance that the circle is, circumference at that latitude.
But can you
So
be more
it's going to change
specific?
the
How
entire.
much? Not just that they increase.
much?
How much?
So, Kosho, at a given latitude, the rate that the Earth turns underneath is different to a different latitude in terms of how much the Earth rotates underneath, right?
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Right. Well, you give an example where a helicopter takes off and the Earth doesn't rotate underneath, Kosho. How many times? That's 11.
Nick, do you recall those 11 times when you asked me? Do you recall what my answer was? Or are you going to pretend that?
Kosho, you're cutting out.
Oh, yeah,
Something
he said
wrong with
you're pretending like you didn't hear my answer, and then I left a long gap for his devastating argument to make it to the airwaves. But all there was a long gap, rather than him reiterating this super strong argument where he goes from having a helicopter with the Earth not rotating underneath, and how he squares that with his examples of different latitudes having different speed of the Earth rotating underneath. So again, I'll leave a nice long pause for his devastating argument that rips apart that double-speak nonsense contradiction that he holds. Let's hear it again, Kosho. Go ahead.
Thank you,
I like to
Nathan.
estimate.
Like I said 10 times before you asked me to say it again, I said that the Earth is spinning underneath the helicopter. The helicopter is spinning with it at the same.
Oh, what speed
Of the
does the
helicopter.
Earth rotate
Earth is not-
underneath the helicopter? What speed?
contradicted himself.
Sorry, what
guess I don't.
speed? I did this 10 times. Is it immediate rumpusing while I get to the 11th and 12th time? What speed does the Earth rotate under the helicopter, Kosho?
If I'm answering the question, why are you going to interrupt me?
He
Like I
says
say it
it moves
explicitly, and then
underneath,
whenever I
yet
finally
it
answer it,
moves
you
Why is
say I
Darwin
didn't say what I
rumpusing him? What speed does it rotate under the helicopter, Kosho?
Okay, am I going to get to answer this time? Okay.
That was
The
a gap
Earth
for
is
you to
spinning
give me a
at one
speed. You just need to say a mile an hour, a number with a mile per hour after it. Not ask me if that's your opportunity. Give me a speed! How fast does the Earth rotate under a helicopter that's hovering?
Since
Go!
it depends, I'll give you an arbitrary one, and we'll say 1,000. If it's going 1,000, the helicopter's also.
Oh, so you're saying you take off in a helicopter and the Earth rotates under the helicopter at a rate of 1,000 miles an hour. So you've only got to take off in a helicopter, a hovering helicopter. This again is a contradiction in terms, and you just wait for a continent to arrive because it's going underneath at 1,000 miles an hour, right, Kosho? Contrary to what you said earlier when this
You
answer
didn't wait
came.
for the end of what I said, and so you think.
Because it was completely in contradiction to what you said last time. You made it clear that the hovering helicopter speed of the Earth rotating underneath is 0. Now you've got it rotating underneath at 1,000 miles an hour. So it's in complete contradiction of what you said earlier, Kosho.
You have the same problem in school. Like
You
when the teacher
can't
said something,
say
you would
it's
just like think she said something totally
rotating
different.
underneath and then declare it's rotating with it. Those are
If honestly you guys are struggling to
Yeah, he's rumpusing you,
Arwin.
Arwin. Say that again, Arwin, while I shut the asshole up so that someone else can point out his contradiction, so it's not just me.
Right. So you can't first say it's rotating underneath and then declare it's rotating with, because these two arguments are totally contradicting in nature. They
Exactly.
oppose each other.
Try to listen. Try to listen instead of interrupting.
No,
before
we
I-
have
Asshole.
listened
We
to
listened.
you, Kosho,
Asshole.
for 3 hours
We listened.
now.
We listened. We heard. You declared that the helicopter that's hovering, by definition, having the ground that was beneath it when it took off still beneath it when it's in the air. That's what hovering is. You're now saying that actually hovering is you going into the air and waiting for a continent to come along, according to you, 1,000 miles an hour of the Earth rotating underneath at the equator. That's what you're now saying. That's a contradiction to hovering. The definition of hovering is contradicted by you saying Earth rotates underneath at 1,000 miles an hour, which it doesn't. Hello?
All
by
right, here we
definition,
go.
if it's hovering,
Please don't say
Earth's not
anything.
moving
I'm gonna
underneath.
take 10 seconds, and then I'm not going to ask for any more time after 10 seconds. Just please don't say
And this,
anything.
please say yes.
As I said all 12 times, please don't say anything. As I
You
said all
don't
12
understand
times.
this, Kosho.
The Earth
Oh
is
my
rotating at a
God.
certain speed. The
my
helicopter is
God.
rotating with it at the same speed. From the
So how fast, if it's
Same
rotating
speed.
with
As
it at
soon
the
as you
same
say same
speed,
speed, Kosho, you're done.
so
That's
if it's
what you don't
rotating with it
get.
at the same speed, the Earth is not rotating underneath, Kosho.
like I
Nathan,
said,
if I
you
could help
you
here.
don't want to hear it, so that's
I
fine.
just lost track of what words actually mean, I think.
Nathan, could you get the definition of Coriolis effect up on screen and go through it verbatim with Kosho and ask him to agree to the elements of it?
So just go fuck
Riley, it's
yourselves all,
worse
y'all.
than
You
just
guys are gonna get what you
Coriolis
deserve,
effect.
man. Your families
He
are all gonna see
literally
this. You're gonna wake up one day and
Kosho lost
realize that you're
track
fucking
of
retarded.
understanding of words because he's literally contradicting himself in one sentence continually, and he still doesn't get it.
Every time he opens his mouth, he's contradicted himself, and he doesn't even realize it. It's ridiculous. For 3.5 hours now, we've been doing this dance, bro. Kosho, you are out of your mind. You realize that.
Can I address something since he's not going to address that issue?
Yeah, go on, Paul.
Just one thing, Kosho, real quick. You're saying that obviously the tangential speed, I guess, is more or less as you go from the equator up. Can you show me a pilot that accounts for that? Thank you. Cowbell.
Another one of those silences.
Maybe he finally figured out how ridiculous he's been sounding all the time.
He's being asked if he can demonstrate a pilot accounting for the tangential velocity retention.
Sorry about that.
Any evidence of the tangential velocity of Earth being retained, flying in the face of Earth, having a Coriolis effect. Any evidence that which definitely doesn't occur, being accounted for by pilots.
Nope.
Or snipers, or artillery, or tanks, or ballistic missiles.
Or anything. Anything.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this after show possible. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!